Pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States.
We're gonna go ahead and have a moment of silence. Great, thank you. So tonight is our January Black House Mud meeting. Thank you for attending. There's some new people in the audience and we have a new board. So I just want to introduce, we have David Johnson, who's our treasurer, Director Young, who is our secretary, myself, Director Logan's the president, Director Shoemaker is vice president, and Director Roberts is assistant secretary. We have our attorney here, we have Sean. Lisa is our general manager, and Taylor at the end is our accountant. And we have Chris that is here to help us run the meeting. The meeting is being recorded. We are really excited. We have the OWL system up. This is our second meeting recording the meeting. Thank you, Director Johnson and Chris, for getting this up and going, and Lisa. Thank you very much. So last month I explained we're gonna do this in phases. Tonight, again, we're just recording, we're not live, and we're hoping next month we can be live. And then the last phase, the third phase, we hope to take citizen communication via the OWL remotely, but we need to kind of get this going and see if we need to have any policies in place, so.
Go ahead, introduce the district engineer.
Oh, sure, district engineer, David Gray is here as well.
Below the radar screen.
Deputy Boggs is here. Okay, great, let's get started. So citizen communication, if you're here and you would like to speak to the board, please fill out a form that's on the table right over there. And you have 3 minutes.
Director Logan, may I read some emails that came in before we do the citizens?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, so this is from Brian Wood. He lives at 503 Chandler Branch Drive. And I'm unable to attend the MUD meeting on Wednesday, but I would like to voice my concern about these suggested new hours. I can understand a 10 p.m. closing hour during the summer hours since it stays light until around 9 p.m. But I'm not sure what the purpose is during these winter months when it gets dark around 6. I may be wrong with this. Seems to be inviting some problems that may occur from some people just hanging around our park. When word gets out that our park is open so late, I can imagine it might become a meeting place for some type of folks that are up to less than good or legal activities. I hope that the board will look at this closely and make sure it's the right decision for our subdivision. Thank you for your time and consideration, Brian Wood. And then this one's from Beverly Stone at 3402 Jordan Cove. I'm reaching out because it came to my attention that the board is discussing extending the park hours until 10 p.m. I've lived in Blockhouse for 20 years and I am against our neighborhood park staying open till 10 p.m. If park hours are extended past dusk, I believe this places unnecessary risk for a beautiful and peaceful neighborhood. Extended hours would compromise safety and privacy after dusk when the majority of our families would be there in their homes for the night. There would be potential for increased mischief and vandalism. There would be potential for increased noise. I wonder if any of the board members live directly near the parks. Is every resident in Blockhouse being considered? How many residents would benefit from the parks being open hours after dark? How many children would play? How many families would be actively in the parks after dark? What is the motive and stated benefit for the parks staying open past dusk? Would additional lights be needed? If so, who would be paying for the lighting? If lights were installed, this would create additional light pollution. Who will monitor the parks past dusk to ensure our neighborhood is safe? Do the wildlife in our parks and natural areas matter? They need quiet and rest to prowl, but having people out prowling at past dark will only encourage mischievous behavior. I do not agree that this would benefit the board of Blockhouse residents in any way and against extending park hours. Thank you, Beverly Stein.
Great, thank you. Okay,
I had seen that first email that had been forwarded with the GM and then went to us, but I haven't seen the second one.
Just
What-
one today.
They came in today, but hadn't been forwarded to the rest of the
It
directors.
just came in like 15 minutes.
Lisa just printed them out,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, okay. So we are seeing the emails that go in.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, great. Okay, so citizen communication, Ms. Hutton. And if I could ask if you would come and speak at the podium, that way the owl can make sure it captures everything. And you have 3 minutes.
All right, I purchased my house in 2005, somewhere around 2014. I left the ladder out overnight while I was hanging something in a tree. I got a letter that this was out of sorts, while there are other people who have ladders out, and even someone who keeps one on her porch as decoration. They did not get a letter. After several months, I requested a meeting with the MUD, with the management company, and the ACC. Nobody responded. This issue was not raised again. In 2019, I painted my house. I went so far as to tone down the color of my garage from a bright salmon to a steel blue. I began to get letters because I didn't ask Daddy for permission to paint my own house. There is no color restriction on the paint. When I did not respond favorably, Armbrust and Brown interrupted state of Texas public school students to threaten me with a lawsuit. I have yet to receive an apology for that. Other neighbors have painted their entire house and didn't get comms for a whole year prior to when I pointed it out. I began, at the same time, there was complaints from the Pinnacle and Armbrust and Brown about a flower bed that was nearly 4 years old, which was actually reaching the statute of limitations. On the advice of my counsel, I filled out the form. I waited for the statute of limitations to expire. I asked again, I was told the paint was fine and nothing more was raised about the flower bed. Then we get a new management company, CAM. I got a letter on a hose that was hanging on the fence since probably 1980, whatever. That was dropped. I then got a letter about a fence that was not mine. Learn your fence laws, people. In 2022, I then spoke out about the violent criminal past of a MUD board candidate. Said candidate was observed discussing online retaliation towards me and costing me financially. Now I receive a letter about a matter in my trees that was laid to rest back in 2014 or 15. You do not get to pick and choose what or when you enforce. That is called arbitrary and capricious enforcement. That is illegal. At best, that is what this is, arbitrary and capricious enforcement. At worst, this is retaliation for my speaking out against then candidate Young. Other people who have things in their trees did not get letters. I also noticed that the report from CAM is missing from this month's packet, so we can't see transparently who actually got notices and so forth, because I checked this online before I came. So candidates who ran on transparency, you've now removed something from the packets. You cannot do this. You don't get to pick and choose what you enforce and when you enforce it. Back off. If you want to go to court, I have all the time and money and I'm willing to do it. You have better and more important things to do than scream about a chandelier or multiple chandeliers that are only visible when the tree has lost its leaves and when you really, really look with a zoom lens. Back off of people. What you're doing is illegal and it will stop.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Bennett.
Hello, sure.
Sorry.
Here's a couple of copies of what I'm gonna talk about. You can pass them around if you like. And I sent one to Denise, if you have it for your record. Given that the current board has less collective experience in operating district, please accept the content of this document as a helpful gesture. I'm not trying to be disruptive, just trying to help you all get things moving. Park late hours, it sounds like Ms. Stone basically covered almost every topic that I have here. Similarly, one of the things that I didn't hear stated in her email was something about, jogging. I think that might be the point. Somebody wants to allow people to jog in the parks at night. But I'll tell you, from running for the last 35 years, jogging on an unstable surface that's loose in the dark is kind of crazy. And unless you're gonna add a bunch of lighting, that's kind of a really silly thing to do. Just run on the street. What I do is get clothes that illuminate me, and I look out for vehicles. I don't expect them to look out for me. So I think giving people the option and advice to run in the park at night is kind of silly. It might open up to some worse things. That's just one thing. The next thing I would like to mention, I saw some proposals in your packet to spend up to $30,000 in the raised bed garden area. When you're gonna move it in a couple of years anyway, if you follow the master plan, that seems a little crazy to me and really not, fiduciary. So, I would hope that you'd pay attention to that and see if that really makes sense to spend $30,000 on some paths around the gardens. And the last thing, a pet peeve I've had for years, obviously, the fencing. The district fence needs to be stained, needs to be maintained, it's just wood, hasn't been standing over 10 or 12 years. We talked about this in September, all the way up till got off the board. We had other things to focus on, we couldn't focus on it. But I really hope that y'all can get back to it. It's obviously not the money. You have a new board member that wants to spend down some of the money, so spend it, fix the fence. And the other fence, the green fence out front, we all know that is in disrepair, needs some help. It was discovered after we started looking at it that it really is in further disrepair. And I think you should pay attention to those things. That's about it. I think you should consider though, these fences, if these are resident fences, they'd be written up for the disrepair in the way they look. So, there you go. Thanks all, have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett, I would just like to let you know that we are going to discuss the park rules, so you're welcome to join and listen.
Couldn't get us, good night.
Okay, is it Mueller?
Oh, Mueller?
Mueller, I'm sorry, Roger. You have 3 minutes.
Well, first of all, my concern was that I tried to use the contact us button on the webpage to report what I thought were deed violations. And I never get a response. I've got 4 of them here over the last 6 months. And, I'd like to know what's the purpose of the contact button if nobody's gonna call me back or email. Secondly, the reason I did this is because, on my street and on the street adjacent to mine, Susan, there's been abandoned automobiles that sat there for weeks. Now, I just now noticed that my luck has it, one of them has been moved. But the other one that's actually in front of my house right now, I don't know whether to call the sheriff or what, but, it's a wrecked vehicle, got a flat tire, nobody's driven it in months, it needs to be moved. And so that's really my largest concern is, oh, and I wanted to find out a question. Have you relaxed the covenants, the rules regarding garbage cans? Because if you haven't, I've noticed that in my cul-de-sac that, and I guess they're all right people. I mean, I don't really know them, but across the street from me, there's 2 Rittenhouses, and because I know the names of the owners. There's 2 Rittenhouses that invariably leave their garbage cans out all the time. In front. A lot of times, there's one of them that leaves it there for upwards of a week at a time because she's gone. And I don't know what she does, but, all I wanted to know is, have you relaxed the rules on the garbage can thing? If so, then, all I can say is it's gonna lead to a bad trend where everybody thinks they can do the same thing. That's
Thank
all I
you.
have.
Thank you. We will be discussing deed restrictions a little bit later in the agenda, if you would like to stick around. If not, this is being recorded, and so you can watch it probably by Friday online, so you can hear the discussion if you'd like.
Can I ask you a question, sir?
Yes, sir.
What street did you say you lived on again?
Kathleen, go, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I'd like to address the abandoned vehicle situation.
Sure.
So those were along Susan, you said, or they?
Well, the one that's on Susan, the one on Susan is apparently moved.
Okay,
Yeah.
but the other goes to Kathleen.
Yeah, right in front of the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Or.
I'm sure the mud, the mud has their own rules and stuff like that. But I just want to add that you absolutely can call the sheriff's office,
Okay,
because we will come and red tag them if they're not as long as they meet the abandonment.
do you have a card, Mike? I mean, I can just. look them up.
I do, but it's out in my top. Hang tight and I'll get you one. But we will red tag them if they meet the abandonment criteria, and we'll allow them 48 hours to remove them or we impound them.
Okay.
Great.
Well, like I said, I mean, it's just a bad trend.
Sure,
If you
yeah.
relax the rules and I'm not gonna participate in it.
Right.
I mean, I used to get letters like, there was a lady, who was it, you? I talked about getting letters. I used to get letters from, leaving a pile of leaves in the front yard. Or,
Okay, so thank you very much,
yeah,
and we will discuss deed restrictions shortly. Okay, Brent, are there any other citizen communications? Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and do agenda here. So we want to go ahead and move, we have audit items on the agenda, but we have two people that would like to present tonight. So we're gonna go ahead and move number 19 and 23 up to the beginning. And this is related to what agenda item is it?
19.
1923.
Engineering and the BGE spyglass.
Yeah, okay. So David Gray.
Wait, there's cooking channel. We had a cooking channel.
Connect in real quick in the background.
Oh,
Oh,
Presentation.
Yeah.
I think you need to go to source. Go to source. Go to settings. And you should be able to go to source. Do you have a source on the remote?
I don't.
It looks like the one I had. Let me see.
I had paper.
Spoken like somebody who's gave many presentations, Mr. Gray.
There should be, or do you have wireless already set up?
I do.
Are you on our internet?
I do, yep.
Okay, let's see.
share screen.
Yeah, it looks like it's disconnecting now, connecting.
Actually, David Gray's up first
Okay.
anyway, so why don't you
Yeah.
figure that out while David Gray is presenting?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, be happy to. Our report's on page 96 in electronic packet. I apologize, Lisa's gonna tell me which tab it's behind here in just a minute, because I don't know what
That-
version it's in.
So I'm gonna allow you.
Hey, tab 19, Mr.
Thank
Gray.
you, tab 19. Couple,
And so, sorry, David,
Yes, of
so
course.
all you're doing is presenting right now on the app and not your full presentation.
okay,
We'll go back to, we won't, remember, we want to keep that separate.
Sure, I apologize. Yeah, just briefly, and there's a memo, a copy of a memo that I sent to Lisa regarding kind of the district records reversal. It's on page 98, it's a couple pages behind my report. Basically, I'll kind of paraphrase that. We have copies of all your district utility records and storm drainage system records in our files. We have them in electronic format. We also obviously can print them off if we have an electronic format, we can blow them up, set them down, we can print off copies, etc. Instead of bringing all that tonight, and I think that that's been made available to district's manager of years past. I'm not, and I don't know if Lisa's got it right now. Obviously, whatever we have is available to everybody, either hard copy or electronic. But what I did do is I did print off just a kind of a key map. Electronically, it doesn't show up too well because I didn't come equipped to broadcast. Apologize. And I know we can do that, and I'm not trying that. Well, true, I gotta get that. But y'all know, you see, it's basically, these are page numbers in electronic and part book, and it shows the district. It doesn't print too well, but all your storm drainage lines on this one would have to be the storm drainage lines. It's got the green lines on the inlets, et cetera, in there. We don't.
So you said electronic and hard copy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And this is an example. This blew up one. Bill loves me because I make hard copies. This is just an example of number 2 right here. It's blew up if I can see it. This is basically of the wastewater system and water system. You can see the fire hydrant gate valves, water lines, the darker lines are the wastewater lines. It gives the streets, the blocks, It's got 500 numbers. It goes into another chart that didn't show up right here. So all that information is available. I believe that my knowledge, Crossroads has used that, relied on that in the past for going out and locating things. It hasn't been updated in a while because you haven't built any new facilities, to be honest, okay, in terms of water and wastewater and storm drainage facilities. But it could easily be updated if you really wanted to. One thing we don't have is a list of your pumping equipment over what storage tank is. We know what it is because we have plans, we drew them, but we don't have a list for that, these storage tank sizes, but that's a half hour's worth of work to figure that out. Also, the district has one wastewater lift station. It's in the back of the district. We have that information too. I just don't have it listed on the wastewater map. But with that, you've got all your utilities available. What this is not, and this is just again, when it prints off, it kind of looks real big black lines, I apologize. But we can manipulate this in any way you want to. We have not ever turned this into GIS. This is an AutoCAD, and we have the ability in our office to convert that into GIS files. That would be something that you can put on the website or share in whatever manner the board wanted to share. There had been some concern in years past, more closer right after 9/11, things like that, about public entities' sensibility of information about public utilities by public entities.
Right.
And I had a lot of districts really kind of pull in and not want to make that information available for, I guess, people coming out and damaging the system. I don't think we've ever had an issue out here that I'm aware of. Most of our stuff is underground. We do have a water storage tank, okay? But I'm just saying that we could put it in the GIS format, and make it available on your website or for anybody, the board members, other people, et cetera, if you wanted to. One thing that would be possible to integrate into this would be your survey information for parks. That's what we have, all that, the parks that are completed. And we have 2 parks that are still being done that are in my regular report, but we could plug that in. That's all in AutoCAD. We could plug that in. Again, that could be shown in GIS also.
Sure.
So it's really, I'm not sure if the board really knew what we had available. In the extent that we have that information, and we can make it available whatever you want to. I don't have a lot of pretty pictures with it. That's something, we can do if you desire, but we have the basic engineering information available. So I just want to make y'all aware of that. And then Lisa and I talked a little bit about the board expressing some interest perhaps, and if I'm wrong on this, please steer me in the right direction. But the board expressing some interest about what we had, what you have, what you may need to do, also how you want to use it. So that's a good basis to start with. So that's my presentation about.
I do have
That's
a
you did
question
great,
for
thank you.
you. Of all the years, I kind of heard you say that Crossroads, did they have ever reached out to you and asked you for?
They have in years past. We haven't had any, Lisa and I haven't had any conversations recently about anything, which I consider communications. If I don't hear from her, it's probably okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Not that I don't enjoy talking to her. We did talk a little bit about $1, I think, over the booster pump station. But in terms of, utilities, problems locating anything, any problem repairs, no, we're available if they need some help. But we haven't had any recent communications about that. Yeah, and now I say recent, that I can remember 4 or 5 years, certainly since Lisa's been
Great, thank you.
It's all readily available, digital and through the book, like it's the district.
Got it. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay. thank
We're
you.
going to do an oral presentation. I forwarded you guys some information that's been digital, and then whenever he gets back, he'll go ahead and send some more information on to you.
Oh,
So I do
perfect.
have some proposals, if you want to pass them around. Thanks, Melissa. All right, so, hi everyone, my name is Matt McCracken. I work with BGP. We're an engineering company, and I work in the GIS department. For those who don't know, GIS stands for Geographic Information System, and what it basically is, it's a technology that maps assets. So think of your mud district blockhouse. You have all this stuff underground. You have valves, manholes, all installed at different days and times. What you guys can do is map that in a web browser map where anyone can access it, pull up the data. Very similar to Google Maps where you can log in to the web browser, any device, mobile device, computer, pan around the map, look at your layers, so layers, your utilities, so you can turn on your water lines, your water valves, fire hydrants, and with GIS, every aspect in GIS has tabular data associated with it. So you can click on manhole number 55, see what material it is, see what manufacturer created it, see last time it was maintenance. So if you do yearly valve inspections or manhole inspections, we can create a field app where the inspectors can go out in the field, collect that data, tie it to that specific asset, and then instantly you'll be able to see that report tied to that asset. So everything can have a report tied to an asset. Talking with Lisa, we were thinking about not only creating a asset management system for your utilities like water, wastewater, and storm, but also things such as like your park trails, and
All of our assets,
yeah,
basically.
and pools too. So, you know, if you have a pool, you want to know the last time it was serviced, the last time the chemicals have been tested, you can do all that in GIS on a build app and tie it to that pool. So you guys can go in, click on that pool, see the last report, see the last chemical, report measurements and get all that information instantly. And what's great about it is we can take Gray Engineering's data, throw it into interactive web map. And you'll be able to locate everything, zoom through its interactive map. You can turn on aerials, houses, parcels, so you can see, okay, this manhole is in front of this parcel belongs to such and such. So all that information is tied to the GIS. Like I said, the main thing is doing yearly inspections to each point and asset, so you can have a running log of the maintenance history. And, you know, if you do maintenance every year in 10 years, you can see that log and see how that manhole has changed over time and get a sense of when it needs to be replaced. So, we do a lot of yearly surveys, help the operator set that up. And then we provide that information in a dashboard, so we can take their, let's say, 2023 manhole survey, take that data, put it in an easy dashboard. So I'm sure you were used to COVID, we had COVID dashboards, so you can see like every county, see what county had more infections than the other. We'll kind of think of it like that, where you can see all your manholes and see which ones are in critical condition. You can associate a cost with them, so you can see, okay, these 30 manholes are in critical condition. They need a bunch of replacements. It's gonna cost this much money. And with the click of the button, you can see all that on a map visually. So you can see all the points on a map, see what street they're on, see what house they're in front of. So this gives operators and engineer a really good sense of, you know, what needs work and where to do that work. So we can just give them a list of those 20 critical manholes. They can go out, repair them, check on them, and then log a maintenance note for each manhole to say, hey, it's been replaced in the year 2023, and then we don't have to worry about it until we're test critical again.
Great, thank you, Matt. I don't want to thank you in earlier, but I asked David and BG&E to make sure you just only kept it about 5 minutes. We have a full agenda. I appreciate your proposal, and I think one of the main reasons Lisa and I have been talking about this along with Director Young is we don't have all of our assets in one place. We have it in an Excel spreadsheet, or we have it, you know, in a hard copy or maybe digital, but we really want an interactive tool that can help us budget, help us plan for the future. It's a fraud prevention. And there's many reasons that we want to be able to go in there. I mean, I'm gonna say this, but I hate to say it, like if Lisa got hit by a bus, you know, I mean, where's all that information? We don't know when we replaced the fence around Apache Pool. And we just recently did not reelect some directors that have been here for a very long time and have a lot of historic knowledge.
Yeah.
We need to get that historic knowledge in one complete
Yeah,
database.
and it's creating a digital twin, so
Yeah.
all your information in the real world is tied to a mapping system, so that you
Yeah.
can pass along and.
So so that's kind of the goal is, and it's not just the water lines, it is the fencing, it is the water, the air filters, it's everything.
So I do have a couple of questions.
Mhm.
What months have engaged in this service with you?
So we have about 30 months total, just to name a few.
Are they here local?
Most are in Houston with a couple in the Frisco, Dallas area.
And who provides the data that you're gonna input that needs to be tracked?
So usually we work closely with the engineer and getting the utility data. So we would work closely with Gray Engineering to get the CAD data plus the plan profile sheets to create the system, the utility system.
So is that in addition to the $6,000 with the, that would be paid on is that a monthly fee or subscription every year?
A subscription every year, and that includes just the cost of the servers
So
too.
we would pay an hourly fee to the engineer as well.
Just us to host the data.
But the data is gonna also come from Crossroads, am I correct? Because they're the ones that know when they cleaned out the last manhole.
Yes, yeah, so we would create the database and then operators and engineers would upload to our database.
So my question was for you, is that gonna be an additional charge out of the contract that we have with Crossroads to provide that data to them?
I would think so. We hired, when we did a hydrant survey, that's data that's already in an Excel spreadsheet. I just have to forward that to him. The tree safe survey that was just, updated, we just forward that to him. So all the additional data, just a literal forward.
So basically, we already have some of the Excel spreadsheets, we just need people to update them.
Yeah, they,
All right, so why does Crossroads not expend some of their money to help your labor people, the people in the field, instead of the district incurring all this expense?
The Crossroads is not looking to invest in any, or need any of this data in regards to the water and wastewater lands. I do believe that this is more to be able to provide you all the other data for your assets, your pools, the mono building. As Steve Bennett has mentioned, you know, the gardens, when was the last time they were done? And you guys are spending 30,000 if y'all choose to. Y'all will know when y'all spent that. So that's way outside of Crossroads. This is gonna be more of your real local assets.
Well, I thought your contract required you to do this,
My contract requires me
to manage these assets.
There is an Excel spreadsheet, Director Roberts, but what we have been talking about is getting a more interactive, up-to-date, broad preventive real system. An Excel
No, I understand
spreadsheet
that.
is not going to send you an email and say, hey, in 6 months, you need to replace X.
Well, I think we could train staff to do it, but I also want to know what's the return on the investment here. For this is $118,000 for this expense, and then you've got $6,000 plus additional cost, and probably more than likely, if Crossroads is having to engage in it, I'm sure that it's out of the contract and we'll get the supplemental billing on it.
One of the things.
Can I ask a question, Director Logan and Lisa?
Yeah, just real quick. One of the things I did pull, Ray Engineering's contract, I pulled other contracts, I've consulted with people. We do own that data.
I understand,
So-
but it does take money to get it.
Yeah, we own it. We
I
have it.
understand that.
They're supposed to give
It
it
takes
to us.
people that they're gonna come to him and ask him to provide more data, it's gonna be an hourly fee.
But not from Gray and not from Crossroads. We own that data. We have that
But I
data.
think to update it, it is gonna cost it.
Well, it should be updated. And per the contract, it's
So what's the
everything that
return
we
on the investment? How are we gonna prove?
Well,
to the
we can
taxpayers?
quantify that. We don't have that number right now, but I will tell you, we're gonna save a lot of time and money on staff looking up things, trying to figure out when did we replace that fence? When did we do this? You know, we've done the pool tours and trying to figure out stuff. So
No, I get that, and I totally understand that, but I think it can be done in a much more cost efficient way.
Okay.
Because we are campaigning on lowering tax rate, now we're spending 4 cents right now.
well, nobody's campaigning. We're
No, I know
board
that,
now.
but it was.
Director Schmidt, go ahead.
Let me finish real quick, if you don't mind, hang on one second. So I think in all prudency and efficiency, and actually, we need to be more conservative in how we spend our money. We're not in the need of all this at this time. We're
Okay.
operated just fine in the manual sense. I mean, it.
Yeah, that's-
Well, I mean, Director Roberts, like, last I checked, I think we're sitting on $250,000 in reserve, right, that y'all tax folks in the
Right,
past.
and you,
That's not being used. I guess the point is, we don't have to levy a penny more to do this if we choose to do so.
but we're spending it.
Well, no, my point though is, we haven't even decided we're spending it. You're assuming we've already agreed.
Well, I know, but I.
But the point I'm making is that there's no need to
But
tell
what's
people
the
to raise
return
their
on
taxes.
investment?
Well, you know, that's one of the things I'd love to talk to Lisa a little bit about is
Yeah.
a bit about how they do that, because Lisa. One of the questions I was gonna ask were, you mentioned that y'all track all this as part of y'all's contract, right? And so my understanding from what you're describing, it sounds like that as part of your standing fee with us, as part of your standing duties with Crossroads, right? Y'all are asked to track the maintenance, right?
Right.
But y'all don't provide any kind of like cloud solution or app, right? It's basically y'all have to track it manually unless your clients provide some kind of way to store that data, right? Like y'all, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe Crossroads is a data storage or app development company, right?
Right.
Like y'all don't offer us any software as a service as part of your contract with us?
No.
Okay, and I don't have that, you don't have to answer, but I don't believe we have a contract for software with you either, right? In the sense that like, you know, we have a provision in there, right? So I mean, I guess that the thing is that, you know, Lisa, the question to ask you is, so the spreadsheets and the information y'all maintain, where is that backed up?
No, it's in my email.
We have ours backed up on internal and external cloud servers.
Okay.
Everything that you have in our files is all backed up. Now, I can't tell you exactly which cloud server that is. I'll give you our IT service company, but it is backed up, and it's actually refreshed twice a day.
Okay, well, that gets to the point I was kind of trying to build to Lisa, is like, 'cause it sounds like, you know, we've got a contract with y'all to maintain equipment, to do the best you can tracking that equipment, but y'all are not set up as an entity, as Crossroads, right? So like, put that in a place where like, it's preserved long-term, right, or regularly updated beyond manually updating, right?
Right.
And so the question I was gonna get to, I guess, is like, you know, if the Walker House were to burn down, right, or lightning hits it, right, or something happens to the computer, like outside your email, is there a record of these maintenance materials?
Crossroads utilizes the same backup system that David Gray does.
Okay.
We all are under Contigo, and they actually have a cloud storage system for our emails, so all of that data will all be backed up,
Okay,
yes.
excellent, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I won't belabor the point, but I think there may be other folks that have questions, but.
Yeah, that's great, Director Young.
So we're gonna have topics when formulating budgets and approving them and, manhole cover for whatever reason, let's say needs to be replaced. When we're in a meeting and we're discussing these things, it's like, okay, which ones need to be replaced over the next year and the next 3 years, the next 5 years? Right now, we could send an email to engineering firm and we can get the data, or at least can go dig it up. With an application like this, it will be on everybody's desktop to where we can go, manhole covers, how old are they? And it'll give an inventory, and then we know what to expect. Who was the last person, what kind of metal it's made out of? Say it was made out of asbestos, we know we gotta remove that manhole cover for safety concerns, but I think the cost savings is, as we ask questions as directors of what our inventory is, how old it is, how much it's gonna cost to fix it, we'll have those answers right away, as opposed to every big question getting mostly accurate data and maybe out of date and such. So as an IT guy, having a database of all of our information at our fingertips is going to be great.
Director Johnson.
I'm still thinking. I guess I would like to see the quantified number of just return on investment.
Yeah.
The execution of contract fee, what does that entail?
I believe that's just the fee. Once the contract starts, it's just billed at that amount and allows us to begin working on that.
Okay, Director Roberts, any other follow-up?
Yeah, I just wanna, so everybody's all concerned about the backup, so how long have you actually been utilizing the system, and how often is it upgraded and updated? And
Yes.
what system is it, who actually developed it?
So we use Esri ArcGIS. They're the biggest GIS platform
Okay.
in America.
Mhm.
And in terms of our own databases, we back them up nightly at midnight, so we have a running log of backups. And yeah, I can provide you, I believe we have an SLA agreement, a service level agreement I can provide you too.
And how long have y'all been utilizing this?
Personally, I started back in 2012 when we had systems in about
Okay,
around 2008. And started with about 5 months, and now we're up to about mid-30s.
Okay.
Great, okay.
And I do have one question. David, does your company have any of the ability to do this?
Yeah, I'll answer yes, but I certainly did not know the extent to which, Ursula was talking a little bit about, beauty fences and things like that. That's kind of expanded my blinders a little bit. I kind of walked into this, I'm not saying I was misled or anything like that, I'm not insinuating that, but I just walked into this thinking y'all wanted a different way to access your basic water, wastewater, storm drainage information. The recreational facilities are, probably something, but we don't have it in GIS. And, if you wanted to include things like your fences and stuff, you're gonna have to do a little more work than what's right now in our system.
Sure.
Clearly, somebody's got to do some more work.
Sure.
We're looking at a security key and lock audit, knowing who has keys to what and all the different things around there. I would like that data to be in there so that
Yeah.
when somebody does open a gate that we don't know,
Yeah.
like, oh, we just rekeyed it.
Yeah.
And then like we can do an audit, we know what's going on within moments, not having to go through the research of
Yeah.
who's had keys throughout history, different things like
I
that.
think, I think clearly you're talking about a more comprehensive utilization of the information than just, here's the water and wastewater system
Yeah.
that your operator needs to know when they go out and fix a line or something like that.
Yeah.
You've got that information, it may not be in GIS, that could be
Yeah.
converted to GIS, but you're talking about a bigger deal here. From what I'm hearing is not.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's,
And- Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, no.
So, just to dispel any rumors or gossip that's going on, it was my understanding the case last year, BG&E had a presentation and they had this. And some directors
I was there.
and Lisa were impressed with it. And, so Lisa and I are talking, and as we're touring the district and not getting answers to how long has this been there and when does this need to be replaced, and have we depreciated X, Y, and Z? I mean, we can look in our audit report that we have and look at depreciation, but not on everything. So that's how it came up.
Yeah.
And we've been wanting, this board, since I've been on the board, I know probably before then, has wanted something that truly was a database, interactive, that we could really pull from and work with. So that's the reason we're looking. I appreciate you coming out. The board appreciates you. Great, of course. We always appreciate you. We will be in touch with, I'm sure we'll probably have follow-up questions. I would direct any of the directors to please reach out to the GM, write down your questions. We're not gonna make a decision tonight. This is a big purchase. We're gonna have to look at the budget and look at what our true needs are, quantify the return on investment. So there's gonna be more discussion, but I'm sure we'll be in touch with both of you.
I do want to clarify one thing, and just in all fairness to Lisa, Lisa's only been with us less than a year. So her knowledge of the history and that's just a defense at the moment for you, because you don't have it. We've gone through so many different general managers, it's been impossible for anybody to have that
Oh, yeah.
historical data.
Yeah, no, we're not.
Right.
Lisa at all.
I think it's the entire.
I think
point.
that's the
That's the
point.
point.
This taxing unit should not rely on the memory of one
I
or two
understand that,
people,
yeah,
Yeah.
because no one is guaranteed tomorrow.
but my point was.
Lisa could win the Powerball tomorrow
but
and
my
not come back
point-
here.
I think they're drawing against tonight, right?
But I wanna make sure that
Guarantee
I'm
you
not
that.
faulting her for not having this information.
I don't think you guys took it that way, but I appreciate you clarifying
Yeah.
that, Director Roberts, yes. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on. We got a lot of stuff on the agenda tonight. I think we can go through it pretty quickly, but the next item is the audit of the district financial statements for the fiscal year of September 30th, 2022. That was in your supplemental report. It's also been handed out. It's a very long and informative report. I read through it detail by detail. And I would encourage, if you haven't had a chance to read through it, there's some really good information there.
Good evening, everybody. Nancy Olson with Paul Gibson Stidlin Barton, the district audit firm. As the president mentioned, I've got this lovely bound copy to go through tonight.
A lot of work.
Without further ado, I'm gonna jump right in. If you turn past the first couple of cover pages, that table of contents, the finally annotated, you'll get to our independent auditor's report. It's 3 pages, but the most important part is that first page, you have a opinion section right there at the top.
The district received an unmodified opinion, that's also known as a clean opinion, and that's the best opinion the district has. Right after that is the management discussion and analysis section. We always tell folks, if you're gonna read anything, you can read this section, it'll give you a good overview of what happened during the year. But I'm gonna take you to those highlights. So we're actually gonna flip past the MDA and we're gonna go straight to your financials, which start on page 10. And because of financials, we try to make the font a little bigger, so we split this balance sheet into 4 pages.
Thank you.
So on pages 10 and 11, this is your top half of your balance sheet, so it's showing you your assets basically. And so if you start at that far left column, the general fund, you can see assets for the general fund for the year were a little over 6.4 million. So most of that is sitting in your investment accounts, right? It's the tax pool, your CDs. And then if you go over to your right for your debt service fund, you've got about 602,000 of assets in that fund. And it's the same thing. Those are also sitting in those investment accounts. And then it totals it up. So that's about a little over 7 million in assets. And then this adjustments column is just taking that balance sheet and turning it into a more for-profit view. So the big thing we're doing here are we're bringing on those capital assets that the district has. So that's about 12.8 million coming onto your balance sheet. And that's how we're getting to that 19.9 million that you see at the far bottom right-hand corner of that page 11 for your total assets. If there aren't any questions on those 2 pages, let's turn the page to pages 12 and 13. And this is your bottom half of your balance sheet. And so you've got your liability section, the general fund, the debt service fund, most of that is really your accounts payable at year end, and then those customer deposits in your liability section. And then you've got amounts related to your deferred inflows, which is related to property taxes, but the most important part of the balance sheet is this fund balance section. So when you look at this fund balance section, and you look at that general fund, you can see you've got a fund balance of a little over 5.4 million. And so most of that is unassigned. It's about 4.7 million that's unassigned, so that's available for you guys to use for operations and maintenance. And then you do see that we do have some assigned at 608,362, and that represents basically like a earmark of what you guys have already budgeted in 2023, the deficit. So that's what that's showing. And so if we move over to the right for your debt service fund, you can see the fund balance for that guy is at 508,515. And so remember, all that's restricted for debt service. So you can only use that for paying off your debt, those principal and interest payments. And then you total those 2 up, we're getting fund balance of about a little over 5.9 million. And then that adjustments column is just turning that balance sheet into a more for-profit view for the bottom half. And so you can see in the liability section, the biggest thing we're doing here is we're recognizing the 3 bonds we have outstanding. So that's about 7 million coming out of your liability section. So once you take into account bringing on those assets, and you take into account bringing on the liability, that's how we're pushing your fund balance to that 11.9 million. You see at the far bottom right-hand corner of that page 13. And those are the highlights on the balance sheet I wanted to point out to you guys. If there aren't any questions on that one, let's turn to pages 15 and 16, which is your statement of activity, aka your income statement. So we split this up into just 2 pages. And so the most important part of this is going to be that net change in fund balance row, which is about 2/3 of the way down on that page. So if you're looking at that general fund, the far left column to start off with, you can see the net change is that negative 120,780. And so that negative is really what you guys expected to do, right? In your 2022 budget, you expected to use up some of that fund balance. So you can see that the revenues you brought in mostly related to property taxes and your service revenues, about almost 5.2. But then you can see you had expenditures about 5.3. So that's what's driving that negative variance. But don't forget, we did have a transfer in from the capital projects fund because I think you guys just had a little like 28,000 or so sitting out there. And so finally we were cleaning that up and then you went ahead and transferred it over to the general fund. And then for your debt service fund, you can see it has a negative variance as well, that negative 82,393. And so that's also what we would expect because you guys are using those debt service funds and paying off that principal and interest. And so once you total up those 2 funds, you got a negative 231,850. And then this adjustment column doing the same thing, but for the income statement, just making it into a more for-profit view. And so the biggest thing we're doing here is we're recognizing we are going to take away the bond principal payments, because remember, those take down the liability. And then we're adding depreciation, and that's related to those assets we talked about that we brought up to the balance sheet, right? And so once we do that, you actually get pushed up to a positive change in that position of that 614,013 that you see near the bottom right-hand corner of that page 16. Now, there's a lot of numbers, so you just not me having questions. And right after the financials are the notes, they just go into even more detail about the numbers that I talked about. But the page I always like to point out to the board is on page 24. It's the second page of your deficit note, but that table at the top of page 24 gives you a good snapshot of your future payment schedule. So for the 3 bonds you had outstanding as of year end, you're expected to pay out about $7.2 million, and you can see that'll be done in 2027. So that's in 4 years.
Well, yeah, pretty awesome.
And then the last thing I wanted to point out to you is on page 31, which is the general fund budget actual comparison. If you're looking at that page 31, the far bottom right-hand corner is the positive variance you have with the budget for the year, that 55,525. And you can see it's really coming from, the bulk of it is coming from that transfers in line. We just haven't budgeted, carrying over those capital projects funds into the general fund, to clean up the capital projects funds, zero it out.
Great, thank you. I'm sure people have questions. One of the questions I have, and I can't find it right now, is there was one material weakness noted.
Right, so one of the letters you've got is our management letter, which goes into the definition of material weakness, and just because of the way the standards are worded, they include when you don't yourself draft a report.
Right,
But it's not unusual for us to draft it for you.
right.
And so just as a standard, we always provide that letter to you guys, and I don't think there's any changes from that.
Yeah, it looked like it was the same as last year. I just, if the guys are reading it, they'd be like, what?
So I wouldn't worry about that, and then I think the real takeaway is just a reminder that, hey, we still help you guys draft it.
Yeah.
And FYI, and then I think the second letter is our audit summary letter. The takeaway from that is really, we didn't have any disagreements related to the audit. We didn't have any difficulties performing it. Thank you for Taylor and her team to getting us all that information.
So do you have any comment about what the number of months of reserve should be held?
I think I've heard people say that they like to have at least 6 months, but for you guys, I think you got
Like
more
9
than
or
that.
10, yeah.
Exactly. I think 88% is what I had calculated when I just kind of did a ballpark.
And
Comparing your expenditures.
Because we're aging district too, and we're almost, a few years away from just paying off the debt. So really, we're very strong to go ahead and reduce some of those reserves, correct?
I mean, you guys probably just want to make, it's a balance, right? You want to make sure you have enough reserve to cover yourself whenever you need to, something happens.
Like of a major line break or something.
Exactly. Because you don't want to be ending up in a position where you then suddenly don't have enough funds, think whatever you need.
Exactly. We will go around the room. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. Director Shoemaker, any questions?
I have a couple of high level questions. I have a specific one. On page 31, basic services, what, because I see property taxes, water service, I assume water billings to the customer. Wastewater, like, what is the revenue streams in that basic services line, seeing that it's about just shy of half what we're bringing in property tax? Is that like, can you explain what's going into that?
Remind me, is that one of the fees that are in the rate order?
Yeah, I may be able to answer that, and Lisa. probably-
Okay, well, that's what I was like, I didn't know who's the right
Oh,
person.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's part of your water bill. That also
Okay, that's-
includes your trash component as well. So trash shows up in that line. If we had trash as a separate line in your budget, you would have to worry about sales tax. So it's part of your water bill under basic service, but that also includes, I think, just the base minimum charge is under basic service as well. Yeah.
That's what I guessed it was, but I wanted to actually ask for
Sure, yeah.
clarification, right?
Good
Because
question.
that's the thing is like, I was like, telling, I was looking at it, looks about collectively what all should be. I guess the higher level question I have, like, how many MUDs do y'all do this for? Like, how,
Oh, I mean, there's hundreds, because our firm is based out of Houston, so they're doing a bunch of Houston ones, and then we've got our Austin team doing the Austin ones. I mean, just myself, just for the 930, I think I'm doing close to like 25.
But- and the reason why I was asking is, I guess, cause like the previous question about, balance, fund balance is like, you know, y'all probably see some, and you don't have to get into specifics of their muds, but,
Mhm.
you know, I guess, you know, from a financial stability perspective, right, have you, I mean, I guess I'll ask you an easy question, like, has any one of y'all's muds like had a default any time recently? Like, when's the last time you think of a mud that's actually like busted on something, right? Like almost never, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and the reason why, right, is because a lot of the taxes are secured with property taxes, right?
Right.
And that's the first lien, right, on the property, right? So like, so that's very secure.
Since the TCQ feasibility rules were put into place in the early eighties, there hasn't been a single loan in the state of Texas that's defaulted on a bond payment.
Okay.
Like, that's just, you know, because that's the thing is like,
I probably listen to what Larry said.
I'm asking not just for my own edification, but also for the folks who are recording, right? Not everybody who's gonna listen to this recording has the opportunity to hang out in Capitol and be lobbied by lobbyists. Who work on this, right? So I'm not trying to label the point, but I wanted to kind of establish some kind of information. Other folks may look at this information, some of the bill packet, right? And they're not gonna know what basic services are. They're not gonna know like, you know, how risky, you know, being a mud is or not risky, right? And that's what kind of asks those questions because, you know, like, you know, that we have a whole discussion in our own books about our budget and where we are, right? And we have a discussion about reserves. I kind of want to do a little bit of table setting for folks, but also folks who are like watching this recording, right? Because they're not here tonight. They don't have an opportunity to ask these questions. And like I said, again, they don't hang out at the Capitol and have a bunch of time. You know, my day job is property taxes. So the last 15
thank you.
years. So I'm done with my questions, but thank you for the time answering those basic questions.
And thank you for raising those questions. I already asked my question. Do you have any questions, Dr. Young?
Nothing with me.
Okay.
I do have a clarification question. The term material weakness also caught my eye, in reading it. So just to be clear, you don't recommend that we change our operations?
No,
Okay.
I think cost effective wise, and I think we try to mention that in the letter as well, like, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I got it. So thank you very much for the presentation.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. And I know Sean has things for you guys to sign and.
Right.
Yes, you mind, we could really read my representation letter.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So one of the things that we'll have the board members sign as part of every audit is our board rep letter. And so that really just says that we received everything we needed to perform the audit. And we know you guys rely on your other consultants as well to provide that information. And so especially your bookkeeper. And so we have them provide us reps.
So I make a motion that we approve the annual financial report and audit.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? Great, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? I did not oppose. Okay, so carries, thank you.
Which item was that? Two.
Two, yes, all right, thank you.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys. Go ahead and move on to the consent items, the minutes from the December 21st meeting. I have a motion
Motion.
Second.
to approve the minutes. Okay, any discussion? Yeah, do you have any discussion then?
I'm good.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm just gonna say if there wasn't.
You were in there, yeah, that makes sense, okay. Let's move on to number 4. Blockhouse. Sandy. Yes, actually, do you mind?
Maybe I'll just hear you soon.
Yeah, the owl can probably pick you up, but it's better for people that are watching.
All right,
Hopefully you're feeling better.
after almost 6 weeks, I'm great.
No,
Sure. are.
no.
Well, I have been derelict in my duties. I've been little on OA. First thing I noticed when I drove up to 30, you're calling down your job. Too, also. There's nothing on the electronic sign. We paid a bunch of
I
money.
know. I was
no.
thinking of that on my walk this morning. I said, we should be posting more stuff on there, but it's not a fault. You've been sick, so don't.
Well, we should, and I just wanted to remind everybody the process, and Lisa knows the process. Whoever sends an email, copy Whitney on it and copy me on it, and that way we don't miss anything and we get it up on the
Because the
board.
next meeting wasn't on there.
Yeah, neither was ours, so, we're doing a really bad job.
One of the things, we met with the Tidal Waves, president of the board, and we did mention to reach out to you all. And because they're gonna have tryouts and different registration dates coming up, so hopefully you'll hear from Amanda.
Yeah, if y'all will do that, I will do a better job of making sure there's stuff up there. So you do a better job.
Oh, thank you. You know me on those walks.
List of events, we should have that by next week. We're meeting on Saturday to, see what we're gonna do this year. So we should have a pretty final list for next week. And I'll send that to Lisa and y'all can look at it. We do have a new board member, Taylor Mandia. He's lived in the neighborhood 5 or 6 years. He does contract work in the neighborhood, a lot of contract work. Married, got kids, really nice guy. I think he'll be a real asset to our board, so we're looking forward to it. The one thing, and I didn't see it on the agenda, and I wanted to bring it up, was and David, I hadn't heard your presentation, so you may have it. That where they're building the furniture store, okay, there is a city council meeting on the 9th, which is the second Thursday. And the planning meeting is actually Friday the 17th. All the neighbors on that end got letters, and a lot of them were OA people. And I have it somewhere, an email address to let the secretary know that obviously we don't want it. I mean, we individually. So there's that. And they wanted our group of people wanted the OA to come out and say, no, we don't want it. We told them that we would put the information out on Neighbor and then encourage people. But some of the people actually have times to discuss their protest. And so I don't know how many people are gonna show up here or not.
One of the things may I just suggest is, that they're probably are pretty far down the road, but this is an opportunity, and Cecilia can probably relate, is this is the time where we can really work with them on sound, noise issues. Like, yeah, absolutely, like we did with the HEB center, instead of doing it after it's built. So,
In trucks, because this is the back end's gonna be their unloading.
Loading it.
Noise and, you know, those long trucks and beep, beep, beeps at 4 in the morning.
yeah, and I asked the lady at your meeting, they had a representative from Nebraska Furniture Mart, and I asked her about that. Are you gonna have set hours? Now, of course, what are they gonna say? Right, but, I get saying you're opposed to it, but let's try to start discussions on some solutions of some issues that may.
Yeah,
arise.
one of the items that comes to mind for myself, where they're building doesn't necessarily entirely back up to Blockhouse. But that's where they're proposing they put the wall, yet the drive to come into the thing will go along they're gonna replace some parking lot. It's gonna be the HEB center. And they are not proposing to build any wall there, but it's gonna be the same trucks doing the same noise. So if we are going to push for something that may get done, is to have that entire area where the trucks are gonna be coming and going from, to have a wall, sound barrier of sorts there. And I believe that will impact much more of the residents that area, which is about half of the distance, you know, that they're gonna be going to.
Weren't
So,
they talking about also just the vegetation, thinking that was gonna buffer?
Like a tree or two.
Yeah.
Sandy, can I ask you to repeat those dates again? I had down at February 9th as a city council meeting, and when was the planning workshop
17.
of January?
February.
February.
Yeah, January's
We missed it.
That's what I want to make sure about. That's why I'm asking. Just asking there. It's gonna be recorded when I say this.
See if you like, they give me one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like literally a street over. So I haven't got the letters, but-
Sandy, do you have anything else?
I just want, we moved our meeting from the 9th to the 16th,
Okay.
so that we didn't interfere with the city council.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, that's a good update.
Thank you, Sandy.
Okay,
Feel
number
better.
5, report from Williamson County Sheriff's Office is, yeah, I didn't see him.
Here it is.
Yeah, Antonio didn't give me a complete list. He has it, but then now he's out of town.
Okay,
I talked to him, and according to him, nothing major. In Blockhouse, we've had a couple of calls. I know like on December 28th, I did a criminal mystery report to the total buildings on Blockhouse Elementary. Somebody butts out when they're in the rock. And then he told me about, I guess, Deputy Hipper. found a pretty significant water leak coming from the Thomason pool.
Yeah.
So that was reported.
Thank
So
you.
that, I guess was taken care of.
Yes.
And then I guess some of you may or may not have heard about the call we had on Jonathan on the fourth. Okay, so it was a swatting call. It was a-
Oh, we heard of that, yes.
Yeah, basically, we received a phone call from a male, and it's. So basically, these are hot numbers that are generated. People obtain other people's information via IP addresses. Anyway, they pick an address, and then they call 911 as an emergency call. So it was a pretty significant call, and ended up being nothing. Basically, it was some male saying that he just killed his entire family, stacked them in a bedroom, and was waiting for us to
Oh my
get there.
goodness.
So what I understand from it, because it was an education for me, it was called swatting. And so all the resources were staging, because the neighbors were calling me, what's going on? I mean, it was like at the elementary school, y'all had the fire trucks, the EMS, I mean, how much did it cost the county? And resources, that was crazy.
But you had some pretty scared homeowners.
Oh, and the homeowner didn't know it was, and when y'all
I
approached
had
them.
no idea. As a matter of fact, they were two 80-plus-year-old elderly couple that sat on each other. And we're out there.
Scaring the crap out of them.
Yeah.
And whoever this was still on the phone when we made scene, because he said he was about to come out the front door and start shooting, so. Which never happened. So instead of our SWAT team coming out, I ended up having dispatch. Research the address, do a reverse lookup on it, we got a phone number. Dispatch called them, and we had them step out. And then I explained what was going on, and just to cover the whole 9 yards, I asked them if we could do not a search, but a clearing of the house, just to say that, yeah, there's no bodies in there.
Good.
And they were cooperative, and he was kind of laughing about it, but eventually it's gonna, one day, something's gonna happen, where somebody's gonna get hurt or killed because of these types of calls.
Is that y'all's standard policy? Do you think it might potentially be like, obviously he's coming up the house, it doesn't look quite right. Is that kind of a standard policy with the county sheriffs, or like, y'all try to do the reverse 911 and try to verify like what's going on?
Anything to minimize direct contact, because if we can call them out to us, it's better than us going into them.
Okay, that's excellent. That's excellent to hear.
And all fire and EMS are on hot calls like that, where violence is potential, they're always gonna stage, they will never go before us,
Mhm.
ever.
Good. Wow.
So,
One of the things, we have talked about, and, the services subcommittee needed to work with y'all, the board, or Lisa, is we would like to do a town hall with Williamson County for all the residents. And actually, Andrew brought that up, a couple months ago, but they've done it, and the OA did it several years ago.
We did it before, yeah.
Yes, but I think it would be a good thing for the residents. They could come in, ask questions, get some clarification, build that relationship.
It's good community policing.
Yeah, so, can I direct the subcommittee
Yes,
to
absolutely.
get that going sometime?
Absolutely. No, I think it'd be a great idea. I know the sheriff's always an advocate for doing that, and he'll be more than happy to do that.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you. All right, let's move on. Hopefully we can get through some of this stuff. Okay, number 6, the PR Communications Subcommittee, special events, newsletter, and social media policy. Lisa.
We don't have too much going on. The report is actually in your packet. You can find it behind tab 6. The subcommittee did meet. We did discuss roughly maybe hopefully trying to pull off a newsletter for February. We're looking for topics, and we're gonna bring all of that back to the subcommittee and try to see if we can get that out. Director Roberts did request that I do some further research on maybe possibly trying to find some marketing companies that will assist us with some surveying. So we reached out to Case and asked for them to give us some possible consultants. So we'll be bringing that back to you all as well.
And this has not been discussed with the subcommittee, but in the past, we actually had somebody that sat in here and took notes and updated, and that's how they used to write the newsletter. And it was a marketing firm, a PR firm.
Linda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was split before that, so.
Mhm.
But I think that would be very beneficial for you, instead of taking your time trying to draft, and we can follow up with that. That's okay.
Okay, great. Anything, okay, C, district social media policy, I believe there's a draft Has everyone been able to submit red lines to the shop?
I did.
I know Director Roberts did.
I did just a little bit.
Yeah.
So I
So,
do want some clarification. When we're on social media. In the engagement, like on neighbors, and there's a comment and it's conversation going on, are we allowed to comment on those and represent the mud?
you can comment as a resident, but the policy itself is strictly about the MUD Facebook page,
Okay,
the MUD Instagram page, the MUD Twitter page.
so if I wanted to comment on next door neighbors or something like that, it would be okay, and I could say, here's what's going on with the mud,
Mhm.
okay. All right, and for some reason I thought that was being changed and limited,
I don't think legally we could do that.
I wondered about
Yeah.
that.
That was-
Good question.
I had the same question. My understanding was David Johnson can do whatever he wants. Director Johnson would follow this policy and not.
Right,
That
but
was
that's
what I'm
the
saying.
confusion part, because we are directors and, because I've been told this, I'm always a director and I'm the part, but I go, no, I'm a resident sometimes
Right.
too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Is the fine line.
Okay,
Okay, so the social media policy, are we ready to,
Which draft in here is the draft?
That was the question I was about to ask.
yeah, that's what I'd like to say too, Sean.
Is there like a?
There is not a draft.
okay, so then can I direct you to take all of the
Yeah.
red lines,
Mhm.
combine it into one, give us a clean copy and a red line version?
Okay.
Because sometimes when you get all the red lines out, it's easier to read and you
Right.
can see really
Yeah.
what's missing.
So my question is number 6 is not very clear to me. It's highlighted, district use and participation of individual social media sites must be specifically approved by the board of directors to discuss those individuals, so that's kind of ambiguous to me.
Well, can I ask a question? I read that as individuals and like if the district wants to be Facebook, TikTok, like individual sites, not.
Then we need to say
Individual
that,
people.
don't you think we should clarify
Yeah.
that?
Okay.
You
Yeah,
probably
that's good
can't see it.
clarification.
I had a comment
Okay.
that was exactly that. I think it means. Not that you would, I know you wouldn't, but Lisa can't go get on TikTok, newly get on TikTok unless we approve it. Like you're branching out, but I agree it needs to be
So
specified.
maybe we should take out the word individual and just say MUD websites and social media sites.
Or just only specific social media sites
Yeah,
perhaps.
because it sounds like I'm an individual,
Right.
so that was
That's good.
confusing.
Yeah,
Okay, all right, so Sean has been directed to combine all the red lines, provide us a clean and red line final draft that hopefully we can read and then adopt
Yeah.
or make any additional changes needed. Okay, good deal. Number 7, transparency, video conferencing technology dial-in. Not quite sure, we did purchase a laptop, just exclusively to run the OWL. We have the YouTube site set up. We have the Zoom setup. So we're pretty much there. Like I mentioned earlier, this is being recorded. It's not live. Our goal is to go live hopefully next month if everyone's comfortable with this. I did talk to Lisa and I think it would be a good goal is that we could post the link to this by Friday, 48 hours after a meeting. And as well as the meeting notes. The whole point is we just want to get this information in front of residents as soon as possible. So are we all in agreement that that's reasonable?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it sounds very reasonable.
Okay, all right, good. Does anybody else have any comments, questions, or screams of outrage about number 7?
the only thing I,
There's no this action is what we're doing.
Correct, yes,
No.
you're right.
I think the only thing standing in our way now is AT&T, if I'm not mistaken, isn't that right?
The bandwidth,
I was pointing out to the
that.
truck. The truck.
And Lisa's got a hold on that, right?
Yes, and Lisa got,
She's gone to New Zealand and back.
Right.
and-
That's right. Okay, number 8, resident survey.
Yeah, my comment would be this, that no board member should be drafting questions. I think we're all in consensus of that because surveys are very, I mean, you've got to know how to write the question to get the right responses. And you're also got to remember the percentage of 2,200 homes can be very, minimal. And we're all elected to represent the body of the people out there. So, we get to make those decisions too. I think the input would be very critical for us to have. But I think in order to do a very good survey, we need to have it professionally done. And that's just my recommendation.
Okay, let's go around the table. Director Shoemaker.
I think it kind of depends on what we're asking. I think for some of the more basic questions, it's probably not too hard about, you know, open-ended questions like, you know, would you like to have more sports teams? Do you know, I mean, I guess like, you know, I don't think, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I mean, this isn't public policy polling. We're trying to create crosstabs about, you know, the breakdown of who in the community wants exactly what. I think we're trying to more generally like ask about, you know, do you like the hours for the parks? Do you like the amenities in the parks, right? Like, I mean, I guess I don't know if I see that to the initial level, like, I think, because I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but and y'all on the committee, but I feel like the questions kind of talked were kind of open-ended, right, for the most part, they're very like basic, so I mean,
Okay,
as more specific, you might want to go follow up, but
yeah,
so
okay.
that's all I've got to say.
So, I will say, in the past, I know we did a, TDS recycling one, and we did have TDS take the first pass.
Mhm.
It was a mess. So I think Cecilia and myself actually went in with the GM and cleaned it up and did it. I agree. I think the directors should have input. I do think that we can start it, but we do want to make sure that it's not leaning one way or the
Of
other.
course, yeah.
So I think we can come up with a draft and then have, you know, whomever look at it, and maybe it's even Sean, I don't know. But I think we need to get on these surveys. I know that you've wanted one for the park. I mean, you even mentioned it too, with the park hours and such, and there's a lot of things that we really do want to hear from residents. And so I would encourage the subcommittee to start getting those.
I would also like residents to unblind us where we might be blind on issues that they might like to have a poll taken. And that way, when we see these other questions or topics, then we can add it, and then it could be either buried. I know somebody was interested in removing the farm animal restriction, and I think that, I mean, even if you're for it or against it, by putting it there, and then that resident gets to see what the results were, then they could be like, oh, maybe it's time to move out to an actual farm, or hey, 90% are with me, and we're gonna be looking to release these restrictions at times, so.
Well, the price of eggs.
You can't lift the restrictions.
So, what I would like to do is have kind of a special meeting to where we could all kind of brainstorm and allow residents to ask questions that can be answered by the residents, you know, in a poll form. I really would like to get something so solid that it really gives us direction on where to go. Do we really want to have lower taxes and lesser maintenance and parks, or do we want to have nicer parks and hey, we can raise the taxes a little bit? But if it's overwhelming, 90% is for one direction or another, then it's easy to go the direction of the residents because we're kind of uniform. So I want not just directors, not just a media firm that knows how to write questions. I want everybody to be able to participate. You know, I would like residents to be able to be critical of, we need to have the same set of restrictions for every house, not two different companies doing the, you know, the violations and such. So I think it's just such a big thing that could give us so much direction in where we want to go, that we want it to be a little bit larger than a quick topic in a regular meeting.
Okay.
And then if we can do that, then we'll get it out. I mean, I'm so excited about it. I want to go door to door and make sure that, hey, I want to drop this off and tell them how important it is and get it in, and it's going to be anonymous until it gets to whoever, and it's going to be processed. I want there to be places where they can not even just like A, B, C, or D, but hey, give some other comments, and then we can aggregate those at the end. We get a report, and then we share that report with all the residents, and residents know where everybody else is going. So I'd like to get 90% plus, you know, responses, but we also get.
You know, to your point, well, I think there are ways you can get toward better than just regular, but I do like your idea about having a special meeting. And I was thinking, I was gonna ask you, I think you could be, maybe comment, I was like, to invite other organizations in the neighborhood, leadership with Scouts, leadership with swim team, the OA, any other organizations like I'm not thinking of right now that are involved to come as well. to encourage their membership to come out as well.
Okay.
Because they're users of these facilities, they residents, they pay taxes.
Okay, Director Johnson hasn't had a chance to speak yet.
Sure, so I actually agree, you can write a survey question to get the answer you want, absolutely, and so I think maybe what would be the best use of their time is if the 5 of us contributed the questions, plus other folks at the table as well, certainly, and then, the residents, I like that idea, and, we talked about that. And then once we kind of have a pile of questions on the table, have that firm come in and make it into a nice survey that, makes sense, once they have something to work with. I don't know that I would trust them to generate the questions, but I would trust them to, exactly, and and to make the questions right, so reform our questions.
So basically a hybrid of what all you said.
It is kind of, yes.
But also, I just want to add one thing, and then I know we're kind of running late, but we need to also know what our limitations are before we ask, because we don't have the authority to rewrite restrictions and things like that. So we want to stay within the focus of the power that the district has. Because we
Right.
are their government, we're very limited in what we can and cannot do.
I think expectation setting is very wise. I had some people reached out to me a couple months ago and were saying, how can the mud board get us to be part of the city of Leander? And I said, that will not ever happen. Cedar Park is not gonna happen either, but it's at least possible,
Yeah.
right? Leander will never happen.
Yeah.
So setting those kind of expectations is important before we.
Good point.
do our whole
Thank you. Okay, let's go on to number 9, restrictive covenants, report from Cam. Cam is not here, is that correct?
Cam is not here today.
Okay, and then do we have a report from the subcommittee?
Yes, I would request that we go into executive session for number, do we have to talk about number 10?
It's 10.
The pretending or contemplated litigation.
We can do that after executive.
Okay, I don't know if there's anything to talk about.
Are we going into executive for
Legal advice.
legal advice? Okay.
Can I ask a comment? Can we push that to the end for that? Because you got folks that are
Right.
watching other.
Yeah, sure.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I'm-
okay.
Absolutely. Not to defer to it. I want to talk about it, but I just want to make sure you guys get it just to hand.
It was brought to my attention a letter, I think it was on Neighbors this morning that I noticed it, can we direct Cam to not sign the letters, Blockhouse Mud Board of Directors? I didn't authorize that letter to go out, and nobody did. I mean, they're the company that represents the district, their third-party contract. Let's let them put their signature on the bottom of that. I mean,
I think we need to read the contract and see if that's what we agreed to, but I think that's
I mean-
a valid point.
Good question.
So it's the first time I've ever seen one, and I was like, no, I didn't sign that letter. I didn't even know it was going out.
Yeah. I'm with you, and I've already taken issue,
Okay.
with,
All right,
they're sending out a dated link for blockhousemud.com.
Yeah, it's an issue.
So I think we're working on getting that done, but
okay.
ultimately, we are the ones responsible
I know that.
for
but
what our
it's-
contractors do and what they send to them, so,
But it
we,
did say Blockhouse Mud,
Okay, so we're gonna just,
just saying.
yeah, let's
Can I-
move 9 to the bottom so we can discuss all of this, if that's all right.
And can I make one last comment, Ursula, real quick?
Sure.
There was a comment in witness testimony that there was not a report. It's in the packet. I don't know what page is the PDF, but there is under tab 9, if you go to the
Right.
online version,
Okay.
there's a list, so
Great.
make sure people know that's out there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good, all right.
I want to back up to resident survey really quick. Could we set a date and then also put that in the topics for the newsletter that we're going to be working on this? We got a date, we're gonna do a workshop. Can we set a date today?
What, I think what we need to do is have, direct Lisa to work with everyone to set a date. It's kind of nearly
Okay.
impossible for us all to agree right this second. on
Gotcha,
it,
no, that
But
works
let's
great.
direct Lisa to do that. I know you're working on some other special meeting dates as well. So, okay, we did. So we're gonna move 9, 10, and 11 then down. Let's go ahead and do finance and audit, number 12, report from directives.
Motion to approve paying bills,
And,
fund transfers and any investments.
okay, okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright.
Anyone opposed? And all the checks are signed, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I was just.
Okay, good. Report from Finance Audit Subcommittee. Is that us? That's bills and invoices, right? Yeah, I think we definitely got our bill of audit earlier today.
Yes.
So I don't think we have anything to report. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, we're gonna move on. This is good. Oh, sure. We're gonna go to 14. Is that all right?
Lifeguards were hired.
Yeah. Okay, report from Lifeguard for Hire, Lisa or Tom, do you have anything to say? Okay.
Oh, hell, damn. Pools are working great. We did have an issue. I felt it in the report, which was when the freeze happened, were some breaks that occurred. And I worked with you, with Lisa, and you, I think, finding the water, that was a fun, I was in town at the time, so.
Oh, the Tumblson.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
almost
yeah.
something that the
Yeah.
officer talked about, they reported, so. Just
Correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't the pump house that broke, it was something else.
it was something else.
We thought it was because,
Yes,
of course, why wouldn't it be that? But it wasn't.
It's always one of the two, it's either that or it's irrigation is buried, so,
Right,
you know.
and it ended up being above the guard room, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's the same issue we had 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So we're looking at
I
that.
know Lisa's got it in hand, so I'm not
Yeah.
worried about it, and they said, of course, we can get anything, else, but. And then, but everything else has been working fine, I think here I get to check on this app over there. So, and then I heard some talking about the sign shortly, we'd love to be able to,
Yes.
both we're hiring for lifeguards probably in the next. They said it's okay, we'll see if we can. But the, those that we're hiring, so we can start.
That's perfect. Yeah,
I'm ready for the summer, we always like to hire from in here, because it's where the money comes.
yeah, yeah, no, that's
How many
great.
do you hire within here?
Every year we hire at least 20 kids from here, minimum.
How many do you need?
We need a total of like 35 kids.
Okay, so the majority. Good. The full subcommittee met, we did a walkthrough with Lisa and Barreto.
Yes.
Great gentlemen. We walked through both pools. And we agreed, I think Lisa's gonna work with you, Barreto. They're gonna start doing some work during off season to get the pools in good shape for the season.
And you
So,
put the same email letting you know that the expansion on repairs, the walk is complete.
good.
And you've also stated that if there's anything you don't like, let me know, and I'll work them over.
He did, you let me know.
Good.
Yep.
I didn't get
He's
copy,
doing very well.
so I just want to make sure she knew about it.
Yeah.
I was like, you better make sure she knows before the meeting.
He's communicating very well.
Okay.
Very
Yeah,
well.
no, he's a good guy. Okay, thank you. Tom.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So the water break that happened on December the 28th. Who's taking responsibility for the repair?
Lisa can answer that.
I did file with
Okay.
TML and we did get that resolved. They did wrap that up and send us a check is actually in the mail for a little bit more than $8,977. They didn't appreciate anything and we have everything to be able to get. the
Who was
report done.
responsible for that?
As far as the prevention is concerned, I'm not sure which portion that Tom actually takes care of. I know we don't. Yeah, we don't handle, Crossroads doesn't handle the inside, nor the parks. We do make sure we take care of the restroom. and
This is the second year in a row that it's had a break.
I have a plumber coming out tomorrow. I haven't had a plumber come out because we've been behind waiting for one. He's waiting on payment. We just got that. As soon as he's able to come out, we'll be able to turn on that water and see exactly where the break came from. TML was not able to find that
So
break.
can we insulate better?
I'm sure there's a lot of
Yes,
things we can do.
there's a
And we
lot of things
will.
we're gonna do
Can
differently
we
than
drip
last
off?
time.
All of that should have been done. So yes, we can.
And so just so you know, no issues in the pump rooms, we had 2 minor little breaks that occurred. Everything was protected like it should have been. The things that we couldn't control, for instance, there was a small break that occurred outside the pump room itself, and it occurred at ground level under the ground. Like it didn't occur anywhere where you would have thought it was in a box that it broke.
So the next cold spell, everybody will take more proactive measures to prevent this, because out of the 8,000 that we've got reimbursed, how much was the total expense?
I don't know yet. I haven't gotten.
But we always been given is 8,000.
Well, actually, we talked to especially Lisa, Cooch, and she is with TML. She is our rep, and she said that she's happy to come back and provide us with more funds if necessary.
Yeah, and then just so you know, just for full clarity, Apache had a small PVC pipe that broke. That we were able to
So
clear.
between the two of y'all will both get together and make sure that these
Oh, yeah.
pipes are taken care of and there will be no more breaks.
Well, I can't promise that because what if we lose power, what if we lose that, and I can't.
I
control
understand
that,
those,
so,
that's different,
Yeah.
but I'm saying this one here was a one-night freeze. I mean, it wasn't that
Right.
like the snow
We
thing.
can't warn Action County, we will do our best,
But
but.
this is costing taxpayers money to fix these
Right,
things.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think it was fixed right the first time.
Yeah, well,
But-
but to answer your question, so we're doing our very best to ensure that we can control what we can control.
Okay,
And, you know, certain things are broke. Just didn't do.
okay.
Yes, David Gray.
Yeah, just, we're seeing cold snaps that are unprecedented. The standard of care is really not like we're in New Jersey or Michigan, it's Texas.
Yeah.
We're seeing lows that are just unprecedented. And even adequate, what was many times years before adequate insulation, I'm not saying this was or wasn't, but I'm saying, or those limits that have been exceeded, because what we're seeing.
Yeah, and just to add what you're saying, I was in a meeting today with a bunch of HOA managers, and we were talking about this, and this got brought up. And they said, what would we what would we recommend besides this insulation? And now we're recommending doing the hot wire that you put on them and you can wrap.
Kind of a ranch.
Yeah, because now it's just, it's gotten to a point now, like, that was a one night thing.
Yeah.
And we went 3 days before, including here, and we went and wrapped everything and did everything. And there's some places that we didn't, there's places we missed a little spot here, a little spot there, guess what? That's where, so.
Okay, great.
those things.
I got one more comment. So it's been pet peeve of mine forever. When the Apache poles and the tunnels and poles, please take the chairs and the reclining things against the fence. They're all stacked against the fence. They're giving easy access to anyone going in and out. Please ask the guards to remove them.
When I meet here, that's where I was heading
Okay.
with the set, because I just didn't know about that on, when they did their walkthrough.
Yeah, we talked about
Friday
that
last
in the
week.
subcommittee, and we're actually looking at more like even covering them and just.
It just gives somebody a stepping stone
Yeah.
into the pool.
But we also wanted to laugh, that we did.
I'm surviving.
Okay, all right, we're gonna go ahead and move on. Nothing that you off on, but yeah.
No, no, sure. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a seat.
Hey, I didn't even see you back there.
There he is. It's nice and quiet. You're almost out of here.
Right.
Just look at that way.
Everything for us, I mean, with the cold snap, we don't have a whole lot going on, obviously. I know there are a few proposals to address. And, one that's speaking of the cold is actually the thermojasm around Creek Run, Lockout Drive. This is the second time I've seen that freeze, and that's exactly what happened.
I think it all freeze to burn.
Yeah.
Exactly. Freeze to burn.
Yeah, it'll all come back, but, you know, that's one of the things in there, and we've already been that, so whether we're gonna get done, so, but other than that, I mean. We got another month, next month, to probably do ant control and, our turf care, and then we got the steady season.
Okay, so I'm actually trying to find your proposals in here.
There is 15A. And one of them is for 15,000, prep and excavate all areas in area 1, which is right there, and then there's another one. This is a lot of money to just put a pound there. Do we need to, drop it down another level and make it decent? Cause I mean, it could be a temporary thing, we just spent $30,000 and then it does that. You know, I mean.
Okay, so can we start with the first proposal, which
Yeah,
is
15A. It's the,
proposal 1991.
yes, it is.
Okay.
Invoice, and then the other one's almost identical. 1992. So I just have a hard time spending money on something that may or may not stay there.
I mean, anything can be discussed, I mean, you might wanna meet and look at that, and we could use potentially mulch or.
I have a better suggestion, and you provide the materials, but let's get the scouts to do this. Let it be a scout project.
I think on top of scout volunteer, I would like to invigorate the gardening community and get them
A little ownership.
on ownership of it. They can do whatever kind of fundraisers they might want to do or whatever, and I would like them to ask what they want. We give them permission, and they're like, hey, we need dirt, we need mulch or whatever, and then perhaps throw it in there. I've seen other garden areas that just look wonderful. The aesthetic of that one is a bunch of cinder blocks and it's surrounded by barbed wire, and I feel like it's a prison farm.
Okay, so. Let's go ahead and for the first one. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
no.
Let's go ahead and hold those two and we'll work with the subcommittee and Lisa and come up with some options and maybe, bring that back, okay? So proposal 1903.
Approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
That would be,
That's the cutback of the plan.
yeah,
Oh,
1490.
thank you.
Second, okay, any more discussion?
It's already done.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, passed. And then there's one more, is that correct?
No, that's it.
Okay,
I do have one item that I want to bring up. In October, we did receive an email from Livingston County Road and Bridge in regards to some trees that were obstructing the stop sign view. The previous board in November did approve for those trees to be removed. Kirk went out and tried to do that removal. We had some residents come out. They were not excited about those trees being removed. They felt as though they needed to be contacted. I did apologize to them because I did reach out to them. Those trees aren't owned by those residents. They're owned basically by the stop signs that are next to them. So we do have that authority to cut those down. I did reach back out to Matt Williamson with Williamson County. He did give me again the notice that they would prefer for those trees to be removed as of yesterday. Kurt is going to be taking those trees down tomorrow. We have sent out a news blast to let everybody know on social media that they are going to come down.
So typically in the past, we've always notified them with a letter to their door that this is gonna take place. So yeah, so let's recommend that we do that in the future, just so they don't get upset. And also another thing to let them know, it's much better to have professional trimming than the Williamson County to come through here with a woodpecker. Because their trees will never look the same, and Williamson County will do it just like that, so.
yeah, that's a good point.
They need to be
Director Roberts.
very grateful.
And it's not just a trimming, it is completely removing the
That's
trees.
correct.
Yeah.
I'm guessing since we're removing them, we couldn't trim them out of the way of the stop sign, is that
No,
right?
it's the actual trunk
Oh,
itself.
Yeah, okay.
And then just that phase of development, they put them between the sidewalk and the street, which is really bad.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, thank you, Trip. Anything else for us?
No.
Thank you. Okay, let's go on to the next item, pickleball.
So I've had quite a few residents come into the Walker House. A lot of them are elderly and they are enjoying pickleball all the time. Unfortunately, we don't have nets out there. So you either have to court your own. I did reach out to Pickleball Central online and they have quoted me for 2 pickleball nets at $839.
Yeah, motion to approve.
Second.
Any more discussion? I'll just say I enjoy pickleball, and I don't think I'm.
I know
quite
David
overly-
Anderson. David Anderson's out there all the time. Okay, so.
Okay,
I had a
yes.
second question. One of the things doing the walkthrough, we observed was we have tennis courts there. If you're gonna sit down, take a break, you gotta completely step out. There's like one bench, but there's a lot of courts out there. I don't think it would hurt to have a few benches so people can bring their duffel, put some shoes on, stuff like that. So we're looking at doing something like that as well. And this is the kind of topic that I like to have an email everybody just moves forward with, but since this is a no walking forum type of thing, I like to bring up like the direction that we're going so that we're not gonna get surprises later.
No,
We
thank
did-
you.
We
Thank you.
did do this once, and unfortunately, the general manager that was handling it was a one-legged, and they couldn't anchor them, and they fell over. So they're in storage, you probably know where they're at, they're, anyway, so if we do get them, make sure they're not where you can't put them in the asphalt. They need to be able, somebody has to install them where they'll stand there, but maybe do something. more
That's
than
good
just-
information.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so
Can you get?
I don't think we voted.
We did not vote, we had a motion with a second. So
Okay,
I-
That was a good discussion.
Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, it passed. And then priority. All right, order establishing rules and regulations governing recreational facilities and related fees and charges. So in the supplemental.
Jordan, do I have just a comment for you real quick? Is there any way, since we didn't get this till yesterday or late last night, can we move this into the special meeting that we may be talking about other things too? Because this is a lot of discussion.
It is a lot of discussion. I would like to discuss it a little bit.
Okay.
Um,
And then maybe propose that we meet in a special meeting, just so it's targeted that instead of it here
Yeah.
late at night, trying to.
Yeah, so last month we discussed it and all the directors were directed to look at the rules, redline them as they saw fit. to also look at the rules in neighboring MUDs, municipalities, counties. So I guess I would like to hear from the directors that were here, of course, so you're welcome to add. Did you redline it? Do you have you had a chance to look at our red line, our memo?
I did. So just generally speaking, I kind of put the changes or the proposed red lines into kind of two categories. One would be like extension of the park hours, like substantive changes to the way we use the facilities. And then the other were cleanup things, like the comments about this is in here for the fourth time, the fifth time, the sixth time, which is absolutely right and should be cleaned up. At my work, we kind of call that like policy by accretion, which is just completely natural, right? You have a policy and then as things come up, you add to it and add to it and add to it. But I think it's a great idea that every once in a while you kind of raise it and say, okay, let's start again. And how does this make sense? And I think there's even different ways we could organize it. So that's the second category. The first category, I would put into the survey. Since we're doing that anyway, and it sounds like we're gonna do that quicker rather than later. That would be my suggestion. Put those changes to the facilities in the more fundamental, right there. It's kind of a gray line between them, but the stuff that's more heavily like changing the park hours or whatever, those kind of things in the survey, so we can.
Okay, so you did not submit a red line though, you're just telling us.
I didn't
Okay.
red line it myself. I
Yeah.
went through your red line and asked some questions.
Okay, good deal. And then Cecilia, do you have anything you want to add now, or do you want to just do it at the special
I
meeting?
think the special meeting, because it's quite a bit for me, and since I've had a lot to do with these over and over the years, and amend and change and amend and change, I'd like to kind of give it some, because I do agree there's a lot of redundancy in here. And some clarification and updating, it
Yeah,
makes
it's
sense.
like, with just a real simple example is they say that we charge $1 for a full tag for a
Yeah.
guest or something, and we don't do that anymore. So we need to have it match what we are currently doing. And part of the discussion, I don't know if you were able to watch the video of the meeting last month, but one of the big items is when Deputy Lovato was talking about how they're actually doing enforcement does not match the rules.
Okay.
So we need, and Shoemaker and Young and Johnson all brought that up, that that's really important.
Okay.
The enforcement matches the rules. David Shoemaker, did you submit?
I actually did not submit anything because I got these yesterday. I read through all of them. I did have one thought. I don't know, I'm not trying to make work for Sean here, but for some of the items like we discussed, where it's like, it's obviously out of date with our current policy. If Lisa could perhaps provide a list of those to Sean, because those I think could be struck, right? So we can then maybe approve a final copy whenever we meet next. And then we could have discussions of whether, I think to just Director Johnson's point, I think some of the substantive stuff I saw, I thought that might need, hours need to be in there. There's a lot of discussion about changes to the rules about amplified music, right? Like that's supposed to be put in the survey, right? Because there's one thing like be at the pool and have your phone going by itself versus a Bluetooth speaker or bringing like an amp, right? And I think that, one thing I did also notice, like some of the stuff that's changed for all the parks, right? Like some of the parks having people able to do things a little bit differently, right? You have, RC vehicles at the BMX park versus say at the pool, right? I think we have to also like make sure that we don't just have one size fits all. So like, the one thing I did also think of that we probably should pull regardless is, the part about you gotta be in good standing, and all my reasoning why is that, if you don't pay your water bill, your water is gonna get cut off, right? You'll face penalties with the district. If you don't pay your property taxes, you're subject to penalty interest and eventual foreclosure, if you do it long enough. I don't quite understand why usage of the parks should be tied to those, and there's separate correctionary, disciplinary, punitive, however you want to call them, action with those things. So I'm a little confused about why we should have the park usage be kind of running a hall monitor, like, are you out of compliance elsewhere? There's already procedures for that. Parks don't deal with that.
So water bills and tax bills are gonna resolve on their own, either they get moved out or evicted or whatever, whereas during that process, they can still play tennis.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have a deeper discussion on that at our special meeting. One of the things I also want you all to look at when you're looking at it is there's some policies in there, especially with pools, and we need to pull policies out. Policies should be a standalone. and you have your rules. So just something, I mean, I know you'll look at it and you'll see.
Historically, yeah, just historically, these all came from other general managers
Yeah.
that run MUDs, so that's where a lot of this incorporated from.
And Sean made it very clear he inherited them, he did not write them.
And we had some very qualified, and Margaret, Wingrove was probably the majority of this got written by.
But it reads like something put together by 5 people over time, you know what I mean? So you're-
Because it's had like 5 or 10 different.
Exactly, that's, yeah, exactly, so.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
the only thing I would offer, I agree, it is a little bit, it's, I don't know what the proper adjective is, but there are like 8 different sets of rules within the rules. There are probably advantages to that, but I think the general sentiment here is that there could be an overarching set of rules that apply to all.
Like the sports and the bike track and.
Yeah.
okay,
But you gotta remember, and this is just conversation, the bike track is a serious safety issue on the type of bike they're riding over there.
Mhm.
So, does that stand alone and making that an exhibit? Is that-
and actually, it said bike trails, not bike track, and that was one of my comments, let's call that the BMX park. Because bike trails to me are the hiking trails and
Well,
stuff.
we see a lot of motorized cars, little bit cars being run out, and then some people take motorized.
Okay, so there's obviously a lot to discuss, let's, so Lisa, you're directed to get that special meeting together. And we will have it here, special meetings obviously are public, so everyone can be here. We were kind of talking about a special meeting at TDS at some point, so they can see the facility,
Yeah.
but it would not be something like this topic, because, yeah, we want to make sure that citizens are here and shoot, hopefully we'll be live by then, so we can, especially, okay. We're gonna move on to 18, report from amenities subcommittee related action. Again, I think I already mentioned this, we met with Lisa, Robert met with her a couple of times. I met with you guys Friday, or no, Thursday. We really went through a lot of parks and different things, and it was really eye-opening. One of the things Director Young and I talked about, and Lisa, is to make sure the Director Johnson and Director Shoemaker go and do the same tour. It's really, we can talk about safety issues and things that we see and the cost, but when you really actually go out there and see, and I'm just gonna give you an example, there's a, what's the thing in the bike park, the bleachers?
The bleachers.
And, yeah, and we did direct her to have that go away.
Trash that thing.
But she was told to hit it with a hammer and take care of it. You don't do that because there's like metal coming up and everything.
No, you can't.
So,
To get rid of it,
no, to fix it,
or to fix it?
yeah. So
Sound like fixing it.
anyways, it was very eye-opening to go around and see all this, and I would encourage both of you to do it sooner rather than later. I think it's gonna be really important when we start looking at a lot of these repairs, prioritizing and doing the budget. Go ahead.
Did you get a guided tour? Because we talked about that at one point.
Yes, it was a guided tour, she guided
cool.
us.
Sign me up.
Yes.
An item that I think we really need to take a look at is, for instance, the Tomlinson Park Playscape. There was an incident where somebody had their arm trapped, and on a bridge, there was kind of a wobbly bridge. I don't know exactly what happened there, but it ended up getting replaced, and that's on the bigger one. Then we have that same bridge on the smaller one where people have smaller arms that are more likely to go into the cracks and that to recur. I think that's something that we need to proactively like re-bridge it or something like that, but we also took a look at the age of it. We're not exactly sure if we had that app when we, knew when it had been installed, and it might have been better to understand, but it appears that repairs on that are not going to be feasible. The steel underneath has been there for so long, there's a lot of rust underneath, and it's just not practical. It almost looks like that's something that is going to need to be tore down and rebuilt, or tore down and left out, or improved. But I don't know that the budget accounts for $1 million playscape replacement. But this is gonna, number one, reinforce that we need to understand our assets and what age they are and how long we expect them to last. But then we need to take a look at Tomlinson Park, the playscape there, because there was a slide, it's been removed. And now there's just a blackboard there, and over time, take a walk on it, and it's kind of wobbly. I think it's approaching the last days of its life. But we need a plan moving forward do we want to replace it? Do we want to make it bigger and better, or want to put something small? My thoughts are, that is the most visited playscape that I've ever seen in Blockhouse, you know, between Tonkawa and Apache. I think that's the most important one to replace and to maintain. If any other ones, if anything's going down for good, it would be one of the other ones, but I think that's just, we need to have that on the radar and start making some decisions over the next month or two.
So my comment would be, this would be a great budget item, and it could also be part of the bond, because I mean, we could divert some of those bond numbers to go there, and I think that was part of our discussion.
Yeah, that's what,
So I agree with you, because I live across the street from it, so I see it used all the time. I mean, it's the most enjoyable thing. It's under trees, people love it, parents love it, and I like the age groups. You know, you got a younger group and then you got the older group, and I think it's trying to modernize it and do more, what is it? they call it?
Or no, all-
Sensory.
Oh, yeah.
all levels of
Yeah.
All abilities.
abilities, thank you.
Let's do, definitely look at that. I think
Yeah.
it's great.
We did, subcommittee and Lisa talked about doing it as part of the bond package, and we are gonna have a special meeting on that. I think the three of us, and please, Lisa, had, safety has to drive some of these
Right,
items.
right.
And while it'd be nice to have a new, community center, we need to look at what we have and the safety
Better
issues.
priority.
Right.
Yeah, which is, I'm excited that we're all pretty much on the same page. Do you have anything else to add, Lisa?
Robert just mentioned some of the items that obviously were brought to his attention. I did have a welder out today. I am gonna be bringing proposals back to the board. You guys can make decisions if you want to continue to slowly, you know, do small repairs to this thing until we get to a place of bonding, just to keep this thing open, keep all the residents happy and safe, and give you enough time to be able to get with your bond council and let them help you move forward.
So I do want to add that TML does their regular safety inspection, they're our insurance carrier, so those items have never come up that they're a hazard. Just wanted you to kind of know that.
Oh, they have, I did bring an
They
inspector
have?
out last year.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, and my thought is anything that's safety,
I didn't know that.
Okay, I'm sorry, Robert, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I'm just,
I didn't realize that.
we're talking about item 18, A, B, and C, or just, are we stuck on A right now?
No, we can go on to B.
Okay, on B, the field, having played baseball when I was younger, that field is in disrepair. I don't know that there's any contract for anybody to kind of upkeep it. If anybody's ever, played baseball or softball and slid into home plate,
No.
it should be level with the ground. The erosion has raised it up a little bit, so anybody actually trying to slide into it is going to likely get hurt. I think we need to embrace it and get it fixed, or start considering we don't do baseball or softball, but to leave it where it is without regular budget for maintenance would be the wrong thing to do. Another thing is, for some reason, there was a trash can installed in the dugout, which is kind of odd, because the bees that go there, it's gonna be hanging around all the kids that might be there rooting for their team. I think that needs to be moved out. We've got a shed that stores chalk, but it's exposed to the elements, so it can get wet, and then it's not really chalk anymore, it's just a white rock. But we need to figure out what we want to do with this. Do we want to do the upkeep on it and make it nice, or do we want to scrap it? My thoughts are, like, let's figure it out and get it regularly scheduled maintenance.
Excellent survey idea.
Yeah, I think we did direct you to go ahead and move the trash cans. There are some things that she could go ahead and fix, but again, safety needs to drive some of this. And
Yes.
that's the-
And also too, since the coaches use it for nothing, and when they go to the LCP or this PPO, you know, City Park Youth League, because my grandson plays there. Those coaches are responsible for maintaining those fields, and we could actually make that part of their use. It's like, you know, y'all come out and rake, you know, maybe bring equipment on a Saturday and clean this up.
The softball team did that. Director Johnson, you remember that?
I do.
We
We
would
rake.
chalk up and we'd rake and we would chalk.
You're
and
gonna have to
water.
build the infield before you actually have them to do that. So you gotta give them a new something before they can actually come out and maintain it after.
Well,
the
we
fact.
used to replace the dirt. It's very expensive dirt. It's very special dirt, but it's also not really a softball field. It's not a baseball field. It's just kind of like a play field. But it's used by all leagues. It's like softball and baseball. So,
Yeah,
I think we can do that. We haven't done a real maintenance on it for years.
Again, it would be great if we had that app, because I was on the board when we did replace it, but I couldn't tell you what year. We put the new dirt down and everything, but I think Tripp was a part of that.
He was,
Okay.
or one of our landscapers.
Yeah, yes, okay, all right, so let's move on to 18C.
What about B?
We just-
Oh, the observation deck as well.
It was,
same.
field.
Okay, so the observation deck,
Yes.
Lisa, do you want to go ahead and talk about that?
We
You,
did-
you,
We did
that
walk,
has some great points.
yeah, we did walk, that observation deck, and we do have some footings that are sitting inside of retaining walls. That's something that you definitely don't do, you don't know what it looks like underneath there, so again, something that we need to talk in a special meeting, which I want to direct y'all's board in regard to your bond package and how y'all want to maintain those items, but it definitely is one that's on our radar for sure. We did walk it, you guys were able to
It's
see that.
even got a nail kind of sticking, you know, worked its way back out, kind of a cut hazard there. We've got some boards, very uneven. We've got some boards that have been slid out and stuff like that, but
Yeah, it does, and I think, sorry.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, again, I keep saying safety, but also, let's do it right the first time.
Right,
There's some things that we've seen that, yeah, let's do it right.
right, okay.
But anything safety, I think, if there are nails sticking up, you know,
Of course.
my thought is just bang it out, we gotta get.
Yeah,
Well,
We
we
can't
do the
decide
best
later
we-
on safety.
We do the
issues.
best we can with our parks. We'll make sure that we do keep it as safe as we can, but those things are gonna continually come up, so
Of
we'll
course.
just be continually
So
on.
why don't we get you to bring a proposal back?
Okay.
okay, C, district leaf and tree trimming events.
could I perhaps introduce this? I don't think it's in the
Yeah.
material, but here's my thoughts, and this came to me when we spent $5,400 on a mulching at this golf course, certain areas around the Oaks. Why do we spend so much money on mulch when we've got so much dead wood back there that could easily be mulched? But then we also do large item pickup, which sometimes people take their branches and stuff like that, they added to it. What I'm thinking is that, I even think maybe we could do it quarterly, but we could have a day set aside where people trim their trees, throw it in, and then they dump it off somewhere in the gardening area or somewhere back there in Mono. Then what we get is an estimate on how to get that mulched from like a trip. They throw it all through the mulcher, and then a week later, those residents can come and get some mulch for themselves. I know that I had a resident ask me like, hey, there's that mulch that's been back there for a while. I was thinking about just getting a wheelbarrow and grabbing some of it, and that's legitimate thinking, and that's how people think when they see a pile of mulch that's been there for 3 months or 6 months. But I think that, especially like the Ice-A-Geddon, when we lost all those branches and stuff, every individual homeowner had to contract and get that stuff removed or whatever. Whereas we really should have, as a community, thrown it all in a pile, turned it into mulch, and then shipped it back out for significantly less. And that will also save money on mulching for stuff like the disc golf course and any other trail improvements. We'll have that back there, but I'd like to start getting that organized for future.
And we had used the mulch in the past, in fact, we had them, and through the snow or whatever, to take it all back there, when the arborist was trimming the right of way. They used it, and then they used it for a lot of the trails, so we didn't really buy it.
Okay, right, and that was like earlier for the development of the disc golf course, but there was a second mulching that happened. And that was a $5,400 bill for the mulch and the distribution of it, which I think we could save money if we just mulch what we got.
So kind of like a trash day or Christmas trees where we bring them out.
It could even coincide with a Christmas tree. We can, instead of bringing your Christmas trees to a certain pile, we bring it to a different pile, and then I think it was Tripp that mulched it anyway. But let's get that all in there.
So can I direct the TDS subcommittee to work on that with Lisa, the GM, and get that event going, and then obviously we'll communicate it and do all that. Okay, 19 services.
Yes, quickly, we don't have any additional information on PEC. I'm gonna take a look sometime next week or two, our revegetation areas, and I'll get in touch with them if there needs some work. The surveys, of your park areas, I did not mention in our report that Hamada is complete too. Okay, I apologize. So we have two that are being worked on. I'd like to urge a surveyor to get those completed by, I don't know if we get done next meeting, but I'd like to try to push it. I know y'all like to get it done too. And then that will be in our system, in the cloud. It can be added into, if you decide to go with a larger, more usable, acceptable type database, it could be incorporated into that kind of step. So that's the update on that recreational bond issue. We talked about a potential, work study. I will say, I think Lisa and I talked about this, when you get in your play stage, there's some requirements about that. I think I sent, a firm that did a survey of some recreational facilities in one of our other districts. And they were certified to do that. I'm not certified to do a survey. I can look at a nut and bolt, but I can't tell you whether it meets state standards or not. But they were certified to do it. They came back and gave a report. It may be, and I'm not aware of this, maybe that your facility just need to be drafted or redone, okay? But I think Lisa, you confirmed, we have that information about that party, if y'all decided to go and have a survey done. And they were very cost effective. I thought they were very.
Okay, so Lisa has that information for you.
I
Good,
Yeah.
okay, thank you, David. Anything else, or you're good?
I'm good, I'm just
Okay.
waiting for y'all when you want to set the meeting, and I'll be
Yeah.
here with bells and whistles, and financial advisor will be here, and we'll talk to you about what you want to do.
Yeah, we have talked about several special meetings, and we need
Sure.
to get those going
Sure.
before it gets too late and everything else goes crazy.
Good.
Okay, report from Crossroads.
Thank you. My report is behind tab 20. You'll be able to see your water loss for November actually is at 15.23%. That water loss is gonna come way down. Crossroads did have a meter reader that did make some discrepancies, which caused our water loss to look a lot higher. We've gone in, we've corrected all of that, so I'll be able to bring that back to you all at a later date and update you on that.
Great.
Your receivables on page 4 is looking really great. We're working with residents really well, paying all of their bills. We did send out on page 5, we sent out 305 letters of collections, and we did do 6 terminations. I don't have any write-offs to report right now. All of your maintenance areas for the district are looking good. We did do a testing of your Tonka backflow preventer, so everything is good with that. That's my report. You guys have any questions?
Backflow?
We have backflow preventers out in all the district everywhere, so.
Oh,
Fluid
okay.
Meter Services comes out and they test them once a year.
Okay, I thought there was just the one here.
No, we've
Okay.
got them everywhere, and I'll always put those to the back of my report so you can see when the new testing is. We do that once a year.
Can we do an newsletter item that every resident house is supposed to have, the spigot is supposed to have like an flow in it, so the water doesn't back, especially does it or irrigation system.
They're PRD valves.
Yeah, right, can we like make a note to make sure that everyone's spigot has that
So
on?
I did believe, Jacqueline did post that a couple of years ago. We can bring that right back up again.
I want to be clear, I'm not sure, like, it's required for irrigation systems, but it's not required
Cedar Park required.
So.
on every home?
On new homes, we do see that in all new districts. You're not gonna see PRDs out here in Block House.
Cedar Park required.
Unless residents actually go in and install them themselves, but in previous, the builders didn't actually install them at build.
I have one.
But the city of Cedar Park would use PEC at one point to verify those things. I mean, or I forgot how it worked out, but we all worked hard to put it on years ago. Just a little FYI.
I don't think I have one.
I do.
Lastly, you'll be able to see behind my report, I forgot to mention, I did receive some information from Kathy Mitchell, she's with Quiddity. She did ask that I provide you all with that stormwater runoff. This is actually gonna be a flyer that I'm going to add next month to the bills. So that way residents are all aware of the stormwater drain.
Yeah,
So you need to.
One sec. That's. Does it need a motion to approve or?
It does, it's a decision.
Oh, to insert it?
Yeah.
So Cecilia motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'll let you guys fight over that one. Any discussion? I'm just gonna add, can we please put it on the website as well?
Yes.
Okay, any more discussion?
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
The last item on my, on item 20D is your annual review of identity theft prevention. I do have my memo. Fraudulent uses, these red flag rules, whenever we have records calling in to identify them, on the accounts to make sure we're providing the correct information. This program works well. I don't recommend any changes, but then we keep on with it.
Okay, so we have a resolution to confirm the annual review. Need a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Or you have to get it asked for.
Any more?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all in favor?
I,
Aye. Okay, report from general manager.
My memos in the packet as well. If you guys have any questions for me, I can answer for you.
Lisa, do you want to share our new parks gentleman employee? I don't know if everyone knows.
Yes, we do have a new parks guy. Jason was with us for a while. His name is Travis. We're excited to have him out here. He's literally out in the parks all day long.
Good.
Anything that you guys happen to notice, please bring it to our attention. He's eager to get out here and just continually making changes. He's bringing a lot of thoughts and ideas for us that he has. That'll help with costs and things of that effect. So
He's very proactive and,
Very.
do not have to micromanage him. He is,
yes,
yeah, it's great.
yes.
Do that through you.
Yes,
That'd be nice.
he actually did mention to me today, and something we can probably discuss in maybe a special meeting, but in the meantime, until we actually come up with a strong game plan about the fencing. If there are planks right now that are missing, he'd like to replace them, stain them, and keep them at least trying to get this. These are items to be seen that he wants to at least be proactive about.
Absolutely. It hasn't had any maintenance in several years, so I think that's a great idea.
And I think we have that in the budget, right? For
We do.
some Basic repairs,
Yeah.
you know, for
So
the-
that's, get on it.
Okay.
Thank you, Lisa. Report from TDS.
That was in the packet.
Okay.
Mhm.
Stormwater management program,
No, I
general permit.
Nothing at all right now on that.
Okay, and then, services subcommittee, District Reking, 25A, Lisa, do you have anything on that?
So, I had a couple of, oh, go ahead,
So
John.
I think this might tie into the reason for why Dr. Johnson has asked us to go into executive. Might I suggest deferring this item until after we come back out?
District Reking? Oh, okay.
They're connected, I guess.
Oh, okay, good deal. We'll put that, how about Tomlinson pool guard check and restroom repairs? We already discussed that. Do you have anything else to
I don't
add?
have anything else to add. As I mentioned, I do have TML already finalizing. I'll forward that information to you all. I'm working on some factors.
Awesome, okay, thank you.
No.
Yeah, proposal from Trinity AV Solutions, District Access Control. Oh, we need to call,
Mike McKelvey.
Mike, yeah.
If we have any questions, you can definitely reach out to Mike McKelvey.
Okay. So do you want to give us an update or you want to wait till we have him on the phone?
I can give you all an update now, and if Cecilia even wants to come in a little bit, she actually does use Brevo at her company. What I would like to do is actually, the last board approved the lifeguard for hire to have their contract changed. One of the items that was removed was rec desk. Lifeguard for hire was utilizing rec desk to identify residents coming into the pools. They were providing key fobs for them and keeping up with residents through that system. It wasn't a great system. Since then, I've been working with Mike McKelvey. We have found a better system that we feel like would benefit the district. It would help, not necessarily need that lifeguard for hire manpower, but it would bring all of this back in-house to the Walker House. Where myself and my admin would actually be handling this. What it does require is for us to actually purchase a new key fob system for every one of the sports courts that are out here and for both of the pools, as well as include, one for the Walker House as well, for Amy to be able to control that with having residents coming in and out.
Also, we've had a problem with, sports courts not having a restroom to use. So I think we're gonna be looking into adding one
Yes.
to the,
Oh, yeah.
the pool as well.
That's correct, that's correct. So basically what it is a key fob system to allow residents to be able to, and to have access to all of the amenities. We actually have all of their data here, so it's just a one-stop shop. Every summer, when residents are getting ready to swim, the key fob is always a huge issue. And we would really like to give you guys something that would just satisfy everybody.
Yeah, and we even talk about like at Tomlinson pool is removing the entry to
Yes.
the other side. And you don't have to have a guard there, you have your fob.
You have your fob to be able to just access.
And we have it at my office, there's a Brevo access, which is the manager would control, he gets access, and then we have the Brevo pass, and it's an app on your phone.
Oh, nice.
You can carry your phone as well as the fob.
But we don't use fobs, we use the
The phone.
the pass, but then I think if they wanted to have fobs, you know, it may be cheaper, I don't know how this works.
Once we're able to actually nail down the fiber and all of that, we could definitely go this route. You have a lot of
Right.
residents that can't access their phones because they're just spinning. So, you know, it's not that everybody's phone doesn't work, it's just that it doesn't work right here.
Yep, right.
Well, and also you've got another issue, it's a setup, if they don't know how to set up the pass, the app, then it's a big nightmare, and then they lose it because they get a new phone, then they gotta come back, so it's probably better to do the fobs.
Or do both, like whatever you.
Yeah,
Let
right.
the admin have the Revo, and then on the phone, and then maybe the board have that, and then just residents do the fob.
So one of the great things about the Revo system also allows for us to be able to set timers. So even if I'm at my house and you guys find that, you know, something needs to be locked down right away, I can immediately remove that access to every resident, and it gives us that better,
Great.
handle on everything out here, so.
Better than buying keys.
Yeah, we would actually need a decision on this because we are, in a time crunch right now. If we
And there's a proposal in the packet.
Well, I don't see it. How many files
Yeah.
is in here?
It's in the supplemental, that's right.
Because I looked at 25.
Yeah,
I don't, it's not in the supplemental.
I was gonna ask them about the decision item you did from us, like,
Yes. I don't think it's in here.
I don't see it.
I'm positive that Latin Kings is ready. It should be.
That's where people.
I don't have it at all.
Do we have the amount?
Yes, I do.
Number one.
So I have to jump off, but you feel pretty comfortable with it.
I'm good with that direction, but I think that. Over time, I'll discover other concerns.
Do we have to make a decision tonight?
If you all want to bump it to a special meeting, I 100% can't guarantee that I'll be able to have it up and running by May, but we can do the best we can. And if we have a special meeting, that'll give me enough time to be able to bring it to you all to make a decision, maybe mid-February.
Well, I guess can I query what the request for tonight though was, like, were you asking for anything like by this, like, that's the parts that they don't have it in front of me, trans, what are we being asked to decide?
That's what we're being asked, that's what you all are being asked.
And you're looking up the amount right now. And Taylor, we have it in the budget? Once we
We
know.
did, budget
50,000,
some.
we budgeted 50,000. Yeah,
Is that what it's costing?
I'm not sure, I have to look at that here.
My one thought is, it seems like we've gone from fob to fob to fob. I mean, I've got so many.
So can we direct the general manager to move forward with not to exceed 50,000?
Yeah.
I think they'll say.
I mean, is that confirmed with the budget, Taylor?
I just confirmed, yes, 50,000.
Yeah, I kind of would like to do that, Judge Roberts, because I don't want us to be right on pool season, so being really scrambling.
I have this same program too at my HOA and it works great.
Wonderful.
Okay, so that's a directive, Sean,
Yeah, so.
to the jam. Is everybody okay with that?
I'm fine with it.
Do, just director, we need to vote, right?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
I'm okay with it, but I think I'm gonna become concerned with the admin of, hey, these people moved, we gotta deactivate the card, we gotta go try and collect the card. Are they gonna turn it back in? Are we doing a deposit thing? But I wanna move forward. But I
can
think
give you
there
a
are.
response to that right now.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry?
With Crossroads, any resident that has a utility bill that turns off water, every Friday, I get an upload. So I take that upload and immediately I do it and I remove their rights. So as soon as I know that a resident has moved out, and that's every Friday I get that upload, CDS gets the same upload. I have a direct link to our CUSI system, so I'm able to see myself, how many people have moved out in a day, in a week.
And new people.
And new people even coming in, so I'm always gonna have a data dump, and
Yeah.
that's the access that I'm able to get that Lifeguard for Hire couldn't provide to you.
Exactly.
Okay, and
So if you can turn off their grievances.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fine.
how many fobs per household are we looking at?
Right now, we only provide one.
Okay, so they get one. So if somebody wants to be at a lap pool and somebody wants to be at Tomlinson pool, they can't have two kids at two different places.
We could probably set a policy where they could purchase an additional one.
Or use a phone app like you do.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It sounds like a person could choose to have a fob or the phone app, right? Okay, then yeah, that's even more flexible.
I would love to still, with the directive, I'd still love to see whatever the documentation is.
Absolutely, we will get that.
I think we should
Not a problem.
Sure, and I do see the section here where it talks about, 29,000 proposal,
Right.
closer to 50, I see that.
Was that in the other supplement?
That's in the main board packet, it's,
I've looked at it.
I just searched Brevo, but
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so we have a directive there, we can also send out the information to everyone, thank you. And let's go ahead and,
So we're gonna decide on that, right? 50,000.
we said not to exceed, we gave our directive not to exceed.
Just in the budget already.
Okay, so we don't need to vote, okay.
All right,
We use the regular, so.
so now we're going on to legal 26 directive, Sean.
I don't think I have anything generally under 26. 27 is actually a financial advisor item.
Yeah.
I would love it more. than this.
We didn't have, there's no action under 25B, because we're waiting on the insurance or.
Correct.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Mine is super quick.
All right.
Our annual disclosure that we give you every year as your financial advisor. V10 is, lets you know that we remain registered with the SEC and the MSRB and we're in compliance with all rules and regulations with those entities.
What would the MSRB?
MSRB,
Yeah, what is that?
municipal security development board.
Thank you.
Was that a test?
I think-
Yeah.
That was.
Well, this all kind of governing rules.
You gotta remember, we got people listening, they don't know what those.
Yes, thank you. And then, rule G42 talks about conflicts of interest and public finance group does not have any conflicts of interest that would impede our ability to serve the district as your financial advisor. Page 3 is just giving you a quick view of, other districts who want. No action is needed, and if you all have questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions from the board?
No.
All right, thank you for staying so long. Good stuff. 28, annual review of district insurance covered limits deductibles.
So this is a catch-all item for all of our districts this year, and in some, we did this a couple of years ago, at least for some of your facilities. Ultimately, y'all have insurance on a lot of different facilities, particularly as a district that provides with water and wastewater services. So you insure water and wastewater equipment, you have all sorts of park and rec stuff insured. So we like to go back really for two reasons, and get with both your engineer and your operator, to make sure that you're covered. And so this item here is after agenda, just to let you know, we started that process. So I will get with your operator and your engineer subsequent to this meeting, but one, we want to make sure that all the equipment that you have is actually insured. And two, perhaps more importantly, you guys have made a couple of claims just since I've represented you know, after some extreme
I
storms.
think we finally met our deductible.
Good. However, one of the things, you got everything, you got insurance on your stuff, but you gotta make sure that the replacement levels that are in the policies are. And so if you have a piece of equipment that goes out that, 10 years ago, where it was insured at $50,000 and it goes out now and it costs $90,000 to replace. We want to make sure now your policy amounts are going to go up a little bit, but you do want to make sure that we've got all those amounts correct. We did it a couple of years ago. I worked with Jack at least on the park and rec stuff. We'll do a more thorough dive this time to make sure we've got all of the utility stuff properly updated. We might have covered that, but it's good to do. I think most of the folks I work with like to do it every 2 to 3 years. So we'll report back to you. You can amend your policy during any time with TML. We'll let you know if we think you need to make any adjustments either to add to your coverages or to increase the insurable.
And just thinking back to this app that we're hoping to pull together somehow, we could pull that information in there also, right? Like with our assets and,
Absolutely.
the insurance match, just trying to get everything together. Okay, thank you. Looks like we need a decision on number 29.
Motion to, it's just our financial update, right? It's the ethics policy.
Yeah, code of ethics, we looked at that a little bit last month. So this is your annual review. We roll our law firm, rolls a couple of things together. So you get your code of ethics, travel, professional services and financial policy. I wanted to update the list of qualified brokers. So the only thing recommended change I would recommend is we work with your bookkeeper to have the updated list of qualified brokers. Those are just the things that are qualified to handle your public content.
And that's gonna be a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? I would just like to add that last month, we talked about the code, a little bit, code of ethics, code of conduct. And I do think at some point we've got a lot of stuff going on, but we do need to redline that and make it a little bit stronger. So that's just a little bit of my opinion there. So everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
No.
Okay, 30, resolution confirming annual review of written procedures for post-bond issuance, federal tax compliance.
You guys have rules that you have established over the years, the written procedures for post-bond issuance federal tax compliance. These rules make sure that you are in good with groups like the MSRB, the Municipal Security Rulemaking Board. And specifically, these are rules that actually your bond counsel recommends, but these are basically policies that guide the work that both your bond counsel and your financial advisor do on your behalf. And they cover such topics as arbitrage, private business use. These are important things when it comes to the issuance of bonds. Arbitrage was more of a thing in the 70s and 80s, but because it was such a bad deal for financial regulators back then, you still have to adopt policies to make sure you're in good standing. Also covers record retention and responsible personnel for all matters relating to your federal tax compliance. I have communicated with the bond counsel. I recommend the changes this year, so we just recommend adopting the resolution.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second? Any more discussion? Okay, everyone in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, I'm kind of bummed because I thought 30 was our last. I'm just realizing the page. 31, district data ownership. I put that on there. And that kind of came up when I was looking at this app and how are we gonna get this information? And I just want us to know that we do need to look at all of our contracts and, you know, Tom's and yours and Gray's and whatever too. Even though they do a lot of stuff for us, we do need to have that data and just make sure that we are getting it monthly. I know in your contract, it said, you know, when you do X, you're gonna give us a copy of it. And then if we ever terminated, you know, you make sure everything, but I don't want us to, if we ever terminate like Tom or someone, that we're scrambling to get all that data from, you know, 7 years ago or however long he's been with us. So we do own all that data, and that again comes into play if we put together some sort of app or something. Okay, are there any questions on that? Some more little research I did and, okay. 32 dates for board membership workshop, yes,
Might be a good time to do the exact stuff.
before we go into the rest of
We
this.
could, I'll defer to you. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, let's just knock these out. You're working on Lisa, you're working on the dates for the workshop, right?
Yes.
Okay, so please send those to us so we can get some of those dates down. Public testimony in accordance with the section 551.007 Texas Government Code, Citizens Communications. And that came up last month. We had people that were frustrated. I know you've probably been frustrated. I was frustrated when I first came to a board meeting. You had to speak at the beginning of the meeting, but then you couldn't speak when your item came up on the agenda. And Director Shoemaker, you talked about that. So we are looking at modifying it. So it's citizen communications is just not at the beginning. And we need to figure out a happy place where citizens can talk when it's appropriate on agenda items, but that we also don't string out our meetings too long. We want to be efficient. So do you have anything you want to add to that?
I think that, you know, that we should definitely have like, for people who want to speak about items not on the agenda, where you just listen, right? Have that be at the front, like a lot of cities do, right? Where people just want to come and talk about whatever, can do that. But then when we have decision items that we should have, like, I don't know how to structure exactly in the agenda, but basically note like, public test we take on this item here, right? And I think on our forms, it says like, if you have an item you speak about, you note it, right?
Yeah.
And so that way, you know, as chair, you can then go, okay, I want to talk about this and have it in order, right? So that way, people, if they want to say something, can say, I want to talk about item 17, and they can wait till 17, and they know after that, I can go, right? Versus going at first, I don't know if I should be for this or against it, right? Because some people may say, I've already said my piece, or if they've heard someone speak on it first, so if they said the same thing I said, I don't need to go, right? Whereas at the front, you don't really know anything's going on, you're just going blind. So that'd be my suggestion to revise the agenda.
So would the citizen communicate before the agenda item as it opens up, or could we go around, we have our discussion. Then the last thing is like, hey, citizens, has anybody got something to add? I've witnessed, you know, just a complete falsehood going around. I would have just been happy to raise my hand and inform. And it wasn't even combative or anything like that. It was just like, you guys could use this information, but I couldn't. So, I mean, I would like it to be any more discussion between directors, citizens, if they've got a comment or two to make. none of, well, hopefully not combative and, you know, troublesome or whatever, but.
Yeah.
3-minute limitation as well, as long as they didn't speak at the earlier part and.
Yeah.
Director Johnson?
Yeah, I agree. You know, that becomes difficult, right? But if you don't do it the way you said, where it's after some of our discussion, then it's the same thing as we're doing now, it's just strung out across the meeting.
Yeah.
They're still not knowledgeable about what the item is, or at least what our position on the item is, about that.
Yeah.
They just waited until the item, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think having them go at the end is good, because like, the witnesses who go, I agree with what they're doing, right, well, they're only pending and I'll wait, right, like.
Right.
Having an idea what the board is gonna do, I think will help you make informed decisions if they wanna speak, whereas again now, like. You're flying blind, you have to assume we're gonna do or not do something, you know.
And that doesn't necessarily give them last word before a vote or sports act, but we can still continue like, oh, well, we didn't consider that. And then continue the discussion, and go from there.
I also think it's important to, oh, so please.
Oh, I also think that we need to be more specific on the agenda. I mean, if it's a change park rules, it needs to say hours of operation or something, because that's what I got a lot of kickback on, it was too vague, nobody understood what it was about, and.
Well,
kind of sort of.
So, yeah,
I'm just using that as an example, but I think if we could be a little bit more specific, otherwise we're gonna drag our meetings out.
actually,
Well, bear in mind procedurally, you know, you limit, the more narrow your agenda item is, the more constrained you are in your discussion.
No, I
So-
understand that,
and that's exactly
There
right,
should be a
you know that.
underneath it.
But I do think that did get spun out of control some, and what was nice is it was big enough that we had a broader discussion and we talked about more things than just the hours. So I personally would like to keep it the way we've been doing it, but I'm happy to hear any discussion.
Well, I mean, I understood the frustration of people not knowing what's going to be discussed, and then like, we're gonna add lighting costs, we're not thinking about that. So in response to that, I did a memo, we did a red line, and that was published before the meeting, so that the residents could have a better understanding. We didn't make any decisions then, we haven't made any decisions today. But this is more of a process, and we want it to be open, we want people to be able to watch the video and hear the discussion. Come back with some comments, and then help inform us on the best decisions to make, so,
Right.
you know, I like having more information, like a memo, like these are the thoughts on that.
I think it's also important to note that we're trying something that, I mean, this mud is never tried, as far as I know, but also I don't know a lot of government organizations that spread out their comments like this. So it's important to know to everybody that we might not get it right the first time. It might need some adjustment period.
I was actually legislating, this is how everything goes, because you do the bill, they take
Right, that's true.
testimony, and actually they discussion, testimony, closing discussion, so and I think other cities that do something, they're taking action, where they're changing ordinances and stuff, it's like. Bring up the item, lay it out, take the testimony, then have a closing.
That's fair.
discussion.
Yeah,
I don't know if they all do it that way.
No,
But you're right, the
but
legislature.
that's the government stuff. We're not the legislature, so it's a big different ballgame there.
I think Cedar Park does, but that's.
And I think
yeah.
Austin does on some of the stuff, too, where they.
Yeah. But that's okay, we're not Austin or Cedar Park,
Yeah.
but we're trying to find what's gonna work best for
Yeah.
our board and our citizens. And like you said, one of you said, we're not gonna get it right the first time probably, but I think it's important that we're open-minded and we're trying to find something, because it is exciting that residents want to be more involved and have a say and stuff. Okay, so let's move on. Case conference, I put that on there. I talked to Trent Rush, he's a board member there, and they are taking recommendations right now for their agenda. So if you have any ideas of something, I know the three of you have never been before. I would encourage everyone, if they can go this year, to go. I don't go every year. And sometimes it's a little redundant, but I think it's gonna be really important since it's your first year as a director. And you, not only do you learn some things, but you meet other directors, you meet other consultants, and but the reason I have this on here is if you have any ideas of some, a session you would like to learn about, for example, they've done annexation, they've done working with HOAs. Yeah, please send it to Lisa and she can get it over to Trent. You did send in the check, right?
Oh, no, Taylor has a memo about it. The check won't be ready until next month in February because we didn't get it in on time.
But the most important thing right now is they set the hotel. If y'all want to be at that hotel, you need to reserve it now.
So, in the past, it's been at the Holiday Inn, which is further down in South Padre. It's actually gonna be at the Pearl, Pearl's no longer the Pearls, Margaritaville, and,
Not Holiday Inn, but it's okay.
oh, down there, okay. The nice thing is this is a much larger, hotel, because the Hilton would always sell out. Yeah, we will get you the amounts, normally spend about $250 a night on your reservation that the MUD will cover. But we'll need to find out what the room rate is, I don't think they've determined that yet, right?
And you have
I
to
think it
grab.
was in that email.
They just block so many rooms.
To get it as soon as possible.
Yeah, recommend registering early if you're going, because sometimes they do.
Yeah.
Lisa, will you talk to the directors and see who wants to be registered in? Okay, awesome. Code of ethics, travel professional service policy, I think that should be on there, because we need to talk about it, there's something that we need to talk about, is there?
Correct, stand on.
Okay, miscellaneous board subcommittee directives, I don't think there's anything there right now. Okay, so let's go ahead, we're gonna go into executive session to discuss, to get legal advice, do I need to read this thing?
No, legal advice.
Legal advice relating to restrictive covenant. Okay, so no action was taken in executive session. We are going to direct our attorney to put together a license agreement in relation to using district assets and access. Is that,
To Green Belts and, right away.
well, it's a district
Yeah.
property,
And
so,
right away along the fences.
yeah, we know that. It doesn't need to be a motion, does it?
I don't think so.
No, I think it's right.
Okay.
Any other directives?
A motion to adjourn, oh, you want to do the. Sorry.
I don't know if you do.
Maybe not.
No, go ahead. I think you can just.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking directive. So Lisa, if
Oh, yes.
ever a board member reaches out solo on a directive, thinking of that restrictive covenants discussion we had last week, if any board member individual reaches out with approval to use district access right of ways, things of that nature, please refuse, because you're directed to refuse
Yeah.
and bring it to the board.
Will do.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
this require board approval, so.
Yeah.
And I know we've talked about this, so if you ever feel any pressure from any of us or vendors or contractors, if it's me, go to one of the other directors or go to Sean, you
Yes.
know, if it's anyone. You are the busiest person in this district. You're doing an amazing job. All 5 of us support you. And we want you to feel supported.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll do
absolutely.
it.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, we are not going to rekey then, right?
Correct.
We don't need to.
Yeah.
But the locks will need to be rekeyed. To the gates,
I think, Sean, you were gonna send a letter, right?
Yeah.
To everybody ask them to,
because you're gonna have to rekey the gates. The locks,
well,
because we don't know who's got those keys.
I thought that was one of, I guess that was part of Sean's directive about the thing, I thought with the letter.
The letter.
With the policy, I thought, Sean, am I wrong on this, like, you were gonna also draft up a letter to remind everybody that we have this
I know, that's why I was saying.
in place, and that's.
I think we need to include the rekey to the gates that lock the keys that lock the gate.
But there's a master key and that implicates everything.
No, we can get rid of that. Well, she can have new locks put on.
We've talked, Lisa and I've talked about this. I think it's either all or nothing.
You run a risk,
I,
that key being out there already.
I think I agree, I'm very concerned about keys being out there, but I think let's get our legal ducks in a row, because I think that based on my kind of understanding this discussion, like, we, depending upon who thinks they've got access to what, whether Yuki or not, we may not have our legal ducks in a row to have a leg to stand on for doing anything. Right, is that fair, Sean? Like,
Yeah, I
so-
agree.
so before we spend money, we need to make sure we can defend our decisions.
The reason I asked when we were talking about sending this letter to those groups is to include those other three, is because in case one of them does have a key, that, you know, that at least they throw it away or something.
Send
But,
it back to Lisa or something.
Okay.
okay, all right, let's, I think we've covered everything on the agenda. Let's just review the meeting notes real quick. Robert, you're on. And you can read them, I don't need to read them, you can read them out.
Correct me if I'm wrong on any of these. Item number 2, unanimous approved. In fact, everything was unanimous today that we did. Number 3 approved, except for Director Roberts abstained on that one.
Yep, 4-0-1.
So this,
16C. No decisions. I think the next decision was 12A approves.
Concur.
15A and B are on hold, but then 15C approved. 16 approved.
Yep.
17 was approved on the pickleball nets. I think that may have been broken down a little bit more. But that was the one that was approved. 18, I don't recall, but I think those were all going.
Real quick, I had 16 as pickleball and 17 is the rule which is left in there.
That's correct.
Okay, sorry, I misheard then. Thank you, sorry.
Let me update my notes because I got it wrong.
Does the board need to sign on?
Yeah. I think so.
that's to everybody, just right anywhere.
Oh,
Any of those 5 blanks. Anywhere.
18 was all
Thank you.
directed to Lisa. I believe. 18 A, B, and C. We know which one. Let me go with 18.
18
Maybe
was
left
the
8.
playscape, which was no decision, yeah, directives.
So she'll be getting quotes for fixing that stuff and
18C was the direction to the subcommittee.
district tree trimming
Yeah.
event.
With the, anytime I say that, I'm voting you.
20C approved.
Yep. I also have an approve on 20 D2 resolution for identity theft, unanimous.
Yes.
Spyglass, we didn't hesitate. 25 B, no action, 25 C is directive. 29 approved, 30 approved,
Yes,
and that's that, right?
yes.
Okay, motion to approve the meeting notes.
Second.
Oh, I was asking for a motion.
Sorry, no, no, second.
All in favor?
Two of us, we have, yeah.
Okay.
And just, again, Robert will get those to you. We had a little issue with the PDFs versus
Yeah.
the Word. I actually had to get it from him and.
Convert
Yes.
it.
He sent it to me in an email. I threw it into a Word and I PDF'd it. Did you guys have any issues with it? I saw you were supposed to.
It was easy.
Okay,
Yours was easy, so you said.
okay, all right, we'll work on that together then. Okay, good deal. And then this recording will be on the YouTube link, or what do we need to do with you?
Nothing, I'm gonna try to connect this home and probably this big recording.
Yeah.
And so I'll do the basic editing and I'll get it up.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, motion to adjourn?
I'm okay.
You're making.
No, I'm asking for a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not clear as that. How many times have I done that?
Second for David.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Okay,